stuff. There were a lot of really obvious, like the Frankfurt conspiracy came about back then. The idea that there were leftist intellectuals in academia.
Oh,
Roads
okay.
that lead to it, you know.
Okay.
Hey, I did have one question.
Okay.
I did have one question. It's small.
One quick question, then I want to move down this list.
Yeah. One quick question. Yeah, so Vaush, people in the chat were pointing out early because it felt like you were gaslighting us. Someone asked you what percent of the country is fascist, and you said how many people supported Donald Trump, which is where we got the declaration that you were saying that supporting Trump makes you fascistic. So I just want to hold you to account to what you said, and I'm assuming.
Okay, yeah,
that
but I feel
you're just
it,
doing
it may be true that it may be true that as shorthand I said that, but I feel like 80 times afterwards I made it clear that I was talking about the actions people engage in rather than their like innate tendencies.
You did song requests.
Now, you could make the argument that there is no such thing as an innate tendency, only what we do. That even if a person in their heart doesn't believe anything fascist, they still are one.
Oh yeah, that's well, yeah. When the song request thing for me, that's what that is.
At the end of the day,
it ends up being me trying to play the song.
You said the action was voting for Trump.
Like, the argument that I'm making.
Did you feel like it was a pretty close representation?
Okay.
People
Yeah,
okay.
so,
Okay. We got
Distinction without a difference.
What? We're gonna move down the line. All right.
There are a lot of people in America who do fascist things. I'll certainly say that. Yeah, like how many people voted for Trump.
Okay, so
well, thanks, man. Seriously, thank you.
So we're going to Fawn. Oh boy, we're going to go to Fawn. We're going to go to Katarana. Then we're going to stop by Destiny, and hopefully
this
Destiny
is about to
and
get
Vaush should be inspired to show us their very pretty faces that everyone would love to see. Any which way,
this is about to be good.
Even better.
Even better.
Oh, even better.
Even better.
Club streaming's banned.
Pretty fascistic of you, Vaush.
I would love the exclusive on Vaush's nipples.
Is Destiny live? Destiny has to be live. He's live. He's live. There's no way he would do this if he wasn't live.
Fawn, please.
Hi.
Hi.
I just want to say I like I was like listening in for ages, and then I went
she didn't have anything to
go
say.
have a shower, and I come back and it's like full just I don't know where I don't even know where it went, but it suddenly got very, very American.
What's this?
No, not in an insulting way, just I was like, oh, now I feel a little bit out of my depth. Hate speech is I'm trying to figure out what track we're still going on here. Where are we going?
Okay, all right. So we were on hate speech before, and we can go back to hate speech. That's where we're.
Boom. No contribution. Thank you.
We moved on to whether the Republican Party within America is a fascist.
Which is stupid.
Is fascist sympathetic in any case. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, I can't speak on American politics. I'm from New Zealand. So I'm not nearly as educated as you guys would be on that sort of thing. But I mean,
I told you.
If we're talking about
that's this.
I feel like I like that we got a definition of fascism is what we're talking about. Yeah, that's not exactly how I put it in my mind, but that doesn't matter.
But $15 to someone on Twitch?
If you start to restrict any kind of speech by law, then there's always
who did I send it to?
My brain's scared. Sorry. There's always a risk of then the power changing hands and then different things becoming obviously illegal. And if you set a precedent for making certain words, phrases, like things like that, punishable by law, then they can change very, very quickly. Obviously, I don't want hate speech. I don't want people being mean to each other and being hateful towards each other. But I think that there's a lot of importance in social punishment. You know, it's like, yeah, people should be fired if they are like, you know, kill all of these certain groups of people. I think that people have their right to not want to employ people who have those sort of beliefs. And I think that is a form of social punishment.
I think I should join.
That does not need to be regulated by law.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Thanks so much. All right. Hadarana, then we'll go to Destiny.
Yeah, I just don't entirely understand some of the hang up on like whether or not, or like why it's so contentious to go ahead and prescribe the idea that like some people in the Republican Party, even if they don't knowingly subscribe to the tenets of fascism, could still be fascist. You can do a racism without being racist. You can do a fascism without being a fascist. And some people can be a fascist without knowing they are a fascist. It's not that crazy of a point. So if people are going ahead and passing legislation or going ahead and advocating for ideas that are fascist in nature, it doesn't matter what the intent is. At the end of the day, what it ends up being done to society still ends up being the same end goal. Same thing goes for when we talk about like racist legislation. Like it doesn't matter
I saw
what anybody's
already.
intent is ever.
Astro, I played him
because
last
it ends
game,
up
and
causing
I
net
accidentally put him
harm.
in, or
Who
put him
gives a
in
fuck?
temporarily while I was
So,
waiting
like, I just
on
don't
Rise or
entirely
something,
understand, like,
and he like
why,
literally solo
like,
carried
there
a game.
needs
It
to
didn't make
be,
any sense.
like,
I'm pretty
such
sure it is.
contention on, like, is everybody that voted for Trump fascist? I don't know, but they did a fascism by doing it. Like, that's it. If you did a fascism, the
Yeah, I
end.
seen that
It's not
video.
that crazy to say.
Okay, so we'll move over to Destiny, but two things. First of all, if you're enjoying this content, hit the follow button. Look what I bring you. I bring you content all the goddamn time. Hit the goddamn follow button and make sure notifications are on. So much content happens here. And these situations don't happen in any other channel. Hit the fucking follow button. And then secondly, I'll say thank you, Destiny. Like, you were I'm sure you were just as naked as Vaush, but you said, I'm going to put on clothes for Prime. I appreciate that. So, Destiny, please take it away.
I don't know why. I think that labeling people as fascist and calling them fascist is just a way to signal to your community that you are like on your ideological camp, and then you can shit on other people that are outside of your ideological camp. It's a brainless in-group, out-group thing. Anybody that does it is wasting everybody's time. It doesn't even make sense to condemn somebody for doing something that is fascist, because it implies that every single fascist thing is bad. It's like saying we shouldn't drink water because Hitler drank water. There are plenty of quote-unquote fascist policies that a lot of people across all sides of the political spectrum would agree with. For instance, the rejection of immigrants into your economy to protect native wages is something that people on the far left, like Bernie Sanders, have supported, and it's also something that fascists would consider good as well. The massive protection of your economy, the increasing of tariffs, and putting big trade embargoes or barriers from other countries so you can do like made in America shit, that would be a fascist policy, and people on the left would probably support that policy as well. They're like this obsession with like labeling things as fascist and saying that it's bad and all of it is bad is just so mind-rottingly fucking stupid, and it's like a meta narrative or a meta conversation that people have so that they can avoid having an actual conversation about any particular policy whatsoever.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Wait, what? I'm sorry. Literally, what? Like, I totally get that there are some people that are going ahead and giving this labels things willy-nilly, just like the way some people go ahead and say everything that's like left of like Pelosi is an SJW, and just like everything that like is a little bit like
He didn't say SJW.
like,
He's talking about
everything's
fascism.
racist, sure, but like on Twitter. But like at the end of the day, like even if it is a label that people are giving stupidly, doesn't mean that at sometimes it's not a label that is accurate. That can go with anything. Like
the problem is that that is actually exactly what happens, is that once a label is used and abused so much, it quickly descends into meaninglessness. And that is what has happened with the term fascism. I would literally bet my left arm that the vast majority of people, probably the majority of people on this very call that use the term fascism as a pejorative, don't actually know what the fuck fascism is. It is literally just a label that we give to people that we
Look,
think
doesn't know what fascism is.
Wait, hold on.
Clearly.
I do think it's particularly funny. Wait, really quick.
Okay,
I do
wait,
think
hold
it's
on.
funny.
I'm so curious. Wait, what is Neo Geo or whatever? What do you think fascism is? Let's hear it.
From tariff, sorry,
That's
fascist.
No, I want to
policy.
hear it. I want to hear it. She made fun of me. What do you think? What do you think fascism is?
No, it's a good question. But in this situation, it has to do. I used to call George W. Bush a fascist, but I was incorrect because I learned, what fascism is.
What is
And
fascism?
he wasn't a fascist because he didn't have a following in the cult. Like, at minimum, it has to be there's a charismatic leader, and their followers do whatever they tell them. It's like a cult.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Okay, so this is exactly what I'm talking about.
She just proved his point.
This is why we need. This is why
No,
we need.
No, but that's the very minimum.
Oh my god.
I appreciate the fact.
This is what.
I just wait, hold on.
She just proved his point.
I appreciate the fact.
And
Hold on,
everything
wait.
autocratic.
Bosh, go
Sorry.
ahead.
I appreciate the fact that Destiny is against unproductive, divisive discourse. So he came in here and spent 2 minutes complaining that nobody but him knew what the definition of fascism was.
I
now
literally
tariffs-
said stop
hold
using
on,
it. I'm not
hold
saying
on.
we should argue it. I'm just saying stop using the
One
term
person,
and just talk about
one
the
person at a
policies.
time. One person at a time. So rather than adding any nuance or clarification to the conversation, he came in here in an effort to virtue signal against the lefties he hates so much. So with regard,
all I'm saying
with-
is that nobody knows what
hold
fascist
on,
means.
we're
So
not
instead of
done
using
yet.
stop having a meta conversation about
We're
leading
not
with fascism.
done
Let's talk
yet.
about ideas.
Okay. Here's what might
But let
happen.
him finish the point before we get mad.
Hold on. Here's what might happen. I might just take this to the private room and we'll just have a few
No,
people.
don't do that.
Don't do it. Okay. Okay. Fine. I'm just saying. Look. Well, then one at a fucking time. Yeah, shut up.
Wait, I wasn't finished with my.
So, Vaush, go
salient
ahead.
point. Yeah. So anyway, the argument that calling things fascist is bad is dumb because tariffs and other things some fascists may agree with are fascist policies is pretty self-evidently ridiculous. Fascists may agree with policies that are meant to make drinking water clean. That wouldn't make those fascist policies. You could argue then, like, what is the line at which point you could call a policy fascist? There is certainly a blurry line there. I mean, at what point does protectionism become ethno-supremacy?
Your line's
I
not
think
blurry
that
at all. You think Bush is fascist. I'm
Hold
sure you
on.
think immigration restrictions are fascist.
Protectionism is purely
No, I don't
fascist.
think-
It absolutely
no,
would
I
be
don't
supported
think-
by fascists. Like,
No, hold on. No, wait, hold on. Something being supported by fascists doesn't make it fascist inherently.
What makes
Like I
it
said,
fascist
clean drinking.
inherently?
Hold on, clean drinking water
Stop
is probably
using
supported
examples.
by everyone.
No, hold on. You're not talking to your
Protectionism
audience.
is something
Say it
supported
in
by
abstract.
Wait. Hold on. No.
Actually,
Give us
can't
a clear
finish a point
definition.
because
Yeah,
he's so
Vaush.
triggered. He's so angry coming
Okay.
out.
I'm not angry. You're veering off. Just tell us what
He's
makes
very
a po-
mad.
what
In
makes a
abstract,
policy
without
fascist.
reference to example, in
Yeah,
abstract.
just
Okay.
make what is it?
Let Vaush
He won't
finish
have
his
it.
thought.
He won't do it. He won't do it. He's gonna dodge the question.
Finish the
We'll
original
find out.
point, no?
Vaush, go ahead,
Yeah.
please.
We might eventually get there even. What was I talking about? Whether or not
What
a policy
makes
is
a policy
fascist. Oh yeah.
fascist?
So it's a blurry line, obviously, because
my
there are
God.
policies that are going to be supported by people on any side of the aisle. When you're talking about Republicans, I think that Trump's a rejection of the election results and everything that's happened subsequent of that
Well, that's
is
that.
a very,
Dodging the
very,
question.
very
Without
obvious
Without
indication
reference, I mean, no one will deny those examples that you bring up.
So wait, hold on.
All right,
You want
all
me
right,
to
all right. I got you,
describe
Zovia.
where
Hold
the
on, let me
line
find
is
out.
for a fascist policy without using an example.
Where
How
is
do you
it? It's in
suggest I do that
documents.
exactly?
You don't understand how to
Freak.
provide a definition of something. You know this is like how the dictionary works, right? Like you can't use the word in the definition. You should be able to give us a clear criteria by which a policy can be evaluated that makes it fascist or not fascist. If you're incredulous, you can't do that without an example. Why would you even
Hold on, I
try
got
to
you in
do
the
it?
waiting room.
Just say
I'm
you don't
about to
know how
join
to
the
do it or
panel.
you don't have
So
a
wait,
criteria.
hold on.
it's
The
really
reason
easy
the
to
reason
give
why is
examples.
because literally nobody does.
It's surprising
When
people-
you're talking about whether or not a given policy is in alignment with a given like ideological line, you would almost always defer to example because there are numerous ways in which those policies can be interpreted, enacted, and informed upon that would determine whether or not they actually adhere to that line. Whether or
I
not
agree
like the
with that.
way
That's
in which
right.
you do or advocate for protectionism can be fascistic. It's possible that the same law passed by Trump or by Bernie Sanders could be more or less fascistic depending on the cultural trends it reinforced. Examples are
absolutely
essential
true.
here.
Yes. No, that what you're saying is true, but what you need to concede, and you won't because you're unwilling to, because it makes you look bad, is that there's going to be a large overlap between all sorts of different policies and all sorts of ideologies.
I have never. Not only is that not something I'm willing to concede, I said that right off the bat with the water cleaning example.
Okay, fascists and left-leaning people are going to support protectionism for largely the same reason. They want to protect natives.
That's not necessarily the case.
What
Left
part of that
leftist
isn't?
does not
No,
support
wait, let him
protectionism.
answer.
Please
No,
stop
wait,
saying that.
wait. Let him answer. What isn't necessarily the case there? Please explain to me the difference.
Lefties have historically supported protectionism, either A, because it's a developing country and they think of it as a way
The
to
U.S. is
develop
not a
in it.
developing country. Stop.
Oh,
pivoting.
wait, hold on. You said lefties. You didn't say American lefties. I'm just being specific and clear with my language. Thank you.
Oh my God.
Either because they want. I know he has a problem with the nuance, right?
No, we don't. No, it's not about the nuances because you're pivoting. Because you're
No,
trying
with
to give
hot
an answer
sauce.
while
We're
you're
talking about the United
So,
States.
wait, hold
We're
on.
talking about the
Being
U.S.
specific,
Let him
being
finish.
specific with a definition is not what pivoting is. That's not what the word means. You're free to look it up.
No,
So
but he used
historically,
America as an
lefties
example,
have
and so he would
supported-
include that.
Vosh,
Historically,
we talked about George
lefties-
Bush and President Trump. We were talking
historically-
about the U.S.
Historically,
Funny
lefties
feudalism.
have supported protectionism either because it allows the development of a robust internal economy not dependent on like foreign exports, or B, as is the case with Bernie Sanders, because they believe, and I disagree with this, that it would be in support of domestic workers. Fascists typically support protectionism in an ethnic sense. They're not actually interested in the preferentiality of their workers, which is why they aren't pro-worker. Their policies are broadly not pro-worker. They don't support workers holistically. They're protectionist as long as it allows them to maintain national and ethnic lines. And that's one of the reasons why that same policy pushed by Sanders and by Trump might be totally different in whether or not I'd call it fascist.
It in a way it can push national ethical lines, but the most important part is the idea of achieving autarky, the idea that you have a state that is completely self-sufficient. That's the big reason
that's
why
different
they
from
support
protecting workers.
It can be or it couldn't be. It depends. But the point is that people support, left-leaning people and fascists support these things in order to protect Native workers. Now,
For
whether you
different
can say
reasons,
that,
right? Well, not to protect Native workers, to protect
I mean,
the
like
state
for
or
different
the
reasons, if you want to
ethnicity
get like
fascist.
super deep
Workers
into the
of the
different reasons,
World
sure.
Unite
I'm
does
just saying
see
that
workers
big
of the World
difference.
Unite.
I'm just saying that largely speaking, to just write off a policy because it might be fascist or supported by fascists, it's just stupid. There are
Spent
plenty
a whole lot of time arguing
you wrote off
about how
judge
people's
for
intent
being
or why they're
wait,
doing
wait,
something
wait,
doesn't matter to
hold
you.
on.
That
matter.
if it,
Yeah. That was so
if it-
central before.
if it went closer towards fascism, then it was fascist. Now you're arguing the exact opposite.
Just real quick.
You are
So
taking that
these are not
thrown it in
hold
the
on.
trash.
Because the
These are
problem is
not
that- yeah,
even
and the problem is
remotely
that
contradictory
people don't-
positions. I'm not
people
talking
don't want
about
to
intent.
evaluate. People don't want to evaluate the individual policies because policy research is boring and because it takes work and nobody really wants to
What
talk about it. And it's
policy
way
have I
more
errantly
exciting
written
and it's
off?
way more fun. Apparently, you're writing off judges because you're saying
Wait,
they're
what
fascist.
you
Which,
said
by the
policy.
way, writing
What
off a judge
policy
that
have I
gets there through a
errantly-
democratic process is a pretty fascist thing to do, by the way.
That's
But, you know,
not
there's a
what
lot of
fascism
lefties that
means.
want to do it kind of is, right?
Wait, folks.
The
Wait,
idea
wait.
that-
We've got a couple dumb things lined up. First of all, you haven't mentioned a policy that I've errantly written off. Second of all, you've accused me of doing this unwilling to acknowledge the overlap in policy preferences between people on both sides of the political aisle, which I did right off the bat in this conversation.
You know what?
Third
I'm
of all,
ready. Hold on.
with
Okay,
regards,
I'm ready. I'm
with
ready.
regards
The
to the
lists are cute.
judges,
Okay,
with
so
regards
we're
to the
doing
judges,
the actual
it is-
Gish Gallop in real time. If you just
this
say
is
so
not-
much
wait,
shit that you can't.
you made 3 points. I'm responding to the 3 points very
I didn't
quickly.
make it. We're
not
having a
going
back
to
and forth
super
on one
depth.
thing.
And with
Okay.
regard, well, then why'd you bring up the judges? You mentioned policies. Now I'm responding to the judges' point. With regards to the judges' point, I said that there were fascists amongst the Republican judiciary, and I said I'd be happy to go and reread the stuff that I had seen beforehand to come back with more convincing arguments. But with regards to saying there are fascists in the Republican judiciary, even if there was a democratic process by which they were elected, that's not a fascist accusation. It's not fascist to say that a fascist party has fascists amongst it. That's
Okay,
not
I
what
just want
fascism
to
is.
hold on. I might take the L here. So I'm just curious. So for the people in the room, how many people in here felt like Vaush was saying that if anything was like fascist or fascist adjacent, it ought to be written off as fascist? Did anybody else get that feeling in here?
But what policy? What did I do
exactly
that
what he
on?
said.
Okay,
You called-
okay,
you called
that's what I thought. That was the feeling that I got.
Vaush
Okay.
is make-
That's
Vaush
what we're
was
trying to
making-
understand.
Wait, okay, so Vaush was making the argument, basically, which is the argument that I
Deferring
think...
to the
what's his
opinions of
fucking name?
conservatives to construct an argument against me.
Okay, he's making the argument that I think it's Mark Bray, whoever wrote the anti-fascist handbook, right? That anti-fascists oppose those whose actions in the world help to build fascism, right? Now, me personally, as an anti-fascist, I get really fucking frustrated when people just call everything fucking fascism, when people say things like, oh, Republican voters are fascists because they're supporting fascism or whatever, right? I think it's really important to define if you want to identify somebody as a fascist, to say, hey, this is an anti-democratic ultra-nationalist who has an interest in protecting people of a certain ethnic or national identity, possibly a religious identity in the case of something like ISIS, right? I think it's really important to make sure that they have those beliefs before you say this person is a fascist.
So, Viv, you should take issue with him calling. You should take issue with him calling Scalia and Bush fascist, shouldn't you?
I can substantiate those positions. I need to reread the Scalia stuff, but Bush, I think it's fairly.
Please let me finish.
How is Bush a fascist?
I do take exception to that, but I think that we can also recognize that there is a difference between identifying someone as holding personally in their own minds, right, or having expressed in their own words fascist beliefs, right, and people who are taking actions towards building fascism in the world. One is a much more nuanced conversation, much more complicated to be able to prove, right? And that's why I wouldn't be comfortable calling those specific people fascists.
And I hear, I'm really curious. Wait, how is Bush a fascist? I really want to
hear a policy that I've written off because it was fascist coded that I didn't think
I want to
of.
hear how Bush. Wait, Pisco, how is Bush a fascist?
I want to hear an answer to the first accusation you flipped against me. Or are you giving up on
Bush
that
was
one?
Bush was like a free trade neocon. There was like imperial.
They had extrajudicial kidnappings. Bush literally had one child and extrajudicial kidnappings.
Everybody, the extrajudicial kidnappings does not make you a fucking fascist.
Is it Obama a fascist? I need to hear on that policy.
Oh,
you made a very specific accusation.
I don't think he's a fascist.
That's what I'm asking. Why is Bush a fascist?
No, I just explained earlier. Sorry, I gotta put my volume down. My roommate complained. I said earlier, I used to think Bush was a fascist when I was younger because he was setting up very dangerous authoritarian things like kidnapping people abroad and sending them to Guantanamo Bay with no judicial remedy. That's where that stuff came from. That doesn't mean he's a fascist because of where I've learned about.
Yeah, that exists.
It requires a
Obama did it
charismatic
too.
leader to have like a cult like following. Like people voted for Bush, but they didn't like think like he like had pretty consistent policies, right? Trump has been all over the place, and like his followers would just believe whatever he says, and that's the dynamic that's really dangerous. Like people voted for Bush
We're not
because
talking
they
about
like.
Trump. We're talking about
agreed with
Bush.
him
Why
on
is
stuff.
Bush a fascist?
We have two
So then
political
that's-
parties.
If you're wondering where that came from, oh yeah, it came from the kidnapping people in Guantanamo.
I just want to say that anybody that
Wait,
ever consider a fucking neocon a fascist is like, Jesus Christ. Like, what the fuck do these words even mean to you guys? Holy fuck.
Oh, we're happy to talk
don't know
about it.
what
I
you're
know.
saying
Did you
about
just
you
come in
guys.
here
If
to complain
everybody's
about my
special,
presence on the
nobody
panel?
is.
Are you that desperate for my attention?
No.
It's
Are
literally
we debating
You.
semantics
You're
now?
not the person I'm referring to.
Is that everything that we're doing? Is just debating semantics, though?
But it's not.
No,
it's not
no,
just
no,
semantics.
Prime. Can I haven't talked in a while.
Okay,
we're
go
not.
ahead.
We're not just
I
debating
just want to know what
semantics.
policy I've written off because it
No,
was
wait,
like fascist coded.
We're not debating just semantics. I think Vaush is a incredibly intelligent individual, and I hold him in high regard. So when someone asks him, "Hey, who are the fascists in our country?" and he says, "Hey, who voted for Trump?" I think that's incredibly reductionist, and I think that holding Vaush to task for the words that he said isn't just arguing over semantics. It's arguing over the ideas that are like pervasive all across the left, and it's disgusting. And it's the rhetoric that people on the right use to say, "Hey, everybody on the left is a communist," right? It's literally analogous, and it's lazy and it's disgusting.
Okay,
And when I'm in, but when I'm involved in a conversation, I'm gonna hold somebody to the words that they say, with the hope that Vaush will say, "You know what? That was actually an idiotic thing to say. Let's move forward."
Which
So what
statement
did- so what did
specifically? Are we
Vaush-
just talking
so
about the
what-
definition of fascism here?
I mean,
No, he just
Vaush. But Vaush later on stated, right? So on specifically that point, right? When he made that, after that, he's saying, well, less that they are all fascists, individually fascists, more that they are simply supporting a fascist, right?
But that's not what he said initially. They're
Then
different.
also
No,
said
no,
that
no,
makes
no,
them
We
fascist.
acknowledge that. Hold on. I literally just said that. I just said that. He stated what GSU Gambit stated, but then he clarified later on that they are supporting a fascist, right? Not necessarily they are fascists, but they're supporting a
That
fascist.
doesn't disarm the previous statement.
Hold on,
doesn't
wait,
disarm the
really,
pre-
so wait, really quickly. I
Kind of a
feel
distinction
so,
without a
I
difference.
feel so. Hold on. First of all, while I don't think I've walked back anything like horrendous here, I do think that in the context of a 15-person debate panel, if I say, for example, how many fascists are there in America? How many people voted for Donald Trump? And then over the next 20 minutes, I explain why I actually think that action is more important than intent. I don't feel like that's walking back. I feel like that's just the way in which you add nuance to the kinds of statements that you have to make to interject in this environment. Now, in terms of whether or not, are we talking about whether Bush is a
That's why
fascist?
you need to be
In terms
more
of whether or
careful
not
with
we're
your
talking...
rhetoric.
Sure,
Like,
but
that's
wait,
why
hold on.
my
Wait. First of all,
was at
free-
least 23%.
First of all,
we have all here to an extent made statements that we have later walked back on or further enumerated upon. For example, Destiny has already made several statements that he refuses to even acknowledge when I ask him to follow up on because he knows he can't substantiate, such as suggesting that I have disavowed policies because they're fascist leaning without actually looking into the nuances of those policies. He isn't even talking about that now. So if we're talking
the
about
reason
what
why
the
I said that
definition
earlier is
of
because if you're saying
fascism
that
is,
everything is bad just because it might have some overlap with fascism, that would
I
lead me to
never said
logically
that.
believe
I
that.
never at any point
but
said
but the
that.
thing was, when I tried to ask you for what is your definition of fascism, you did something that somebody does who doesn't understand a topic. You just tried to give me some examples.
When did you
Because
ask me
know
for that? Wait, hold on.
When did
you
I
didn't
ask you
me
to
for a
define?
definition of fascism? You asked
Does
me for a
anybody,
definition
can anybody here
of what would
raise
make...
their hand if they remember me
Hold
asking
on.
Vaush how to define fascism? Does
So wait,
anybody
really
remember
quick.
me asking that question?
So this is actually a
Okay, thank
question
you.
with a
Just checking.
factual answer. You didn't ask me to define fascism. You asked me to determine how you would find a policy fascist, which is actually way more complicated.
Wait, so you have
didn't ask me
a
to define
consistent
fascism.
definition of fascism, but you can't tell me what makes a policy fascist?
I think that when you're looking at, and for reasons I already explained, if you recall, when you're talking about whether or not a policy is fascist, there are many nuances which can affect the extent to which I believe it would contribute to fascism. So I think deferring to example is preferable. That's why I talked about how protectionism can be progressive or fascist leaning, even if the text of the law is the same, depending on the context in which the law is passed.
But that your very own definition there doesn't really work, though, because you say just by contributing to fascism, it might make a particular policy fascist. But a left-leaning person can implement a policy that absolutely absolutely contributes to fascism, but they don't have the intentions to, and it doesn't really take the entire country in that direction.
But it's also possible that the context of that implementation could make it so that a policy which would otherwise contribute to fascism does not. There's a very big difference.
You see how the meta narrative around this is so cancerous and toxic and a waste of time? Like, instead of ever actually talking about the policies themselves, if they're good or bad,
you can't blame me for the toxic meta narrative. You came in here and exacerbated it. You came in here and stirred the toxic meta narrative, and now you're complaining about it.
I came in here and I dived into the toxic
answer
meta
all your
narrative.
questions, and when you don't have any more rebuttals, you come up with, isn't this conversation toxic? I don't know. Why are you having it?
No, that's not a rebuttal. That's my entire point, is that coming in here and just labeling stuff as fascist and bad is not a productive use of time.
I didn't label things as fascist and bad.
Did you label George Bush?
Hold on.
Okay, it's happening. It's happening. We're moving.
Wait,
no.
I like the
Say Wait Nation on YouTube and Twitch.
You want the big group?
I'm lonely. I like the group. Look, wait, hold on. I can amend this. Okay. Labeling things fascist and labeling things fascist, and bad are two different things. And it's also very different from saying that I'll write off anything because it could potentially have any fascist.
Wait, so hold on, just on that statement. So you would label something fascist and good?
I think that there are things that a fascist would do that could be good, like protectionism under some circumstances.
Okay, so then you agree then that
This is so stupid.
I agree, but that was a funny thing. Okay, so Vaush thinks there are some fascist things that are good. Okay, that's great.
For the love of God, it's really easy to explain why you're having this problem, okay?
No, I feel like this is an exceptionally thing to understand.
Really quick, you just realize
let me...
I didn't actually finish.
Stop, Viv, go.
Thank you so much. Okay, so fascism has multiple attributes. Okay, I named a few. I think there are others outside that are like debatable or whatever, but like there are some very essential characteristics of fascism, right? We were talking about anti-democracy, ultra-nationalism, a desire to purify that national ethnic or religious group from impure things, generally on the basis of like either degenerate behaviors or fucking immutable characteristics, right? And you can have an individual policy that is like targeted at one of these things, right? Increasing authoritarianism or targeting minority groups in order to repress them or whatever, right? But those on their own don't constitute necessarily fascism. You could have an authoritarian communist government, for example, right? Which some people might call red fashion, can stray into it, but it's irrelevant.
How do you reconcile that with what Vaush said earlier, that intent doesn't matter? Before intent was...
For the love of fucking God, Pisco, stop fucking lumping me in with Vaush when I'm quite clearly saying that I think he's being irresponsible in his rhetoric, and I disagree with his idea that like George Bush is a fascist. Okay, please fucking stop like needling at me about that. When you're trying to identify an individual policy as fascist, it's very difficult to do without looking at the reasons why it's being implemented and who it's being implemented by, right? Because who it's being implemented by might be expressing all those other things all together at once, right? And are clearly trying to build fascism through the implementation of this policy, whereas like other people might be implementing this policy for different reasons, because policies tend to only kind of target one or two of those attributes. They can't target like just full-on fascism unless the policy is like, we're going to have a fascist government now.
Okay, yeah, but there's a big problem with that whole conversation. There's a whole big problem with that. Once you get to the point where you're like literally like where you start trying to label a whole bunch of things as fascism just because they have the potential to possibly be fascist adjacent, then at this point now the phrase becomes so incredibly vacuous that now doesn't mean anything.
True.
It's not whether or not you're clear. It's the fact that that's been demonstrated in this conversation. And once you have people literally making like not being even able to define the word fascist, and you're still using it in a conversation with these same people that have literally they played fast and loose with the definition of fascism, and like 10 back and forth.
Who doesn't know the definition here?
With 10 back and forth, and Vaush, listen, in all fairness, you still didn't give one, by the way, because you definitely were asked for it multiple times.
I was asked and I provided one about 20 minutes ago. Do you remember?
I thought Okay, yes, please give it. Give it. Okay, then give it. Then give it
for a panel.
It's okay. Give it.
He
Give
said
it, please.
he likes Umberto Eco's 14
let him.
Wait, stop. Hey, what's the definition?
Do we really want me to read out Umberto Eco's 14 points?
No.
Okay, wait. How about a better question with it? Why is Bush or Scalia a fascist?
Sorry, what'd you
okay.
say?
Vivian gave a good definition of
Okay.
fascism. She gave
Okay.
good,
Why
like.
is it? Okay, well, Destiny.
Yeah, wait, I just want to know, how are Bush or Scalia a fascist?
So with Scalia, I would need to go back over the case rulings that he's given because I don't have a great memory for the judicial stuff. I said that earlier. I'd be happy to come back with a lot more arguments because this is stuff that I half remember from podcasts that I've listened to and articles that I've read and conversations that I've had. With Bush, I think the argument is a lot more direct, and it's obviously something I remember a little bit more directly. I think that Bush, the obvious ones, the straightforward ones are obviously the 2020 election and the extent to which it was not fairly earned, in my opinion. The broader ones, though, are the
2000.
2004 election.
Did I see 2004? I meant 2000.
Bush went to court. He submitted himself to the authority of the court.
No, make him answer questions. Don't spoil.
Hold on.
I really want to hear what he thinks that election was really fascist. I want to hear that.
Destiny, how arrogant do you have to be to believe I'm not familiar with the way in which the 2000 thing went down? Okay,
And that's why I really want to hear your description of it.
Okay,
How many?
I wasn't going to describe it. I wasn't going to describe it any further. It was a buddy relationship. God, what's the term?
You talk about the governor Bush.
No, when you're a nepotistic relationship between George Bush and a person already in power in order to undemocratically secure an election to which he otherwise probably didn't have a right. I think that's definitely in line, at least with the anti-democratic element of fascism, though it's nowhere near as overt as what Trump did, of course. So you have that.
Can we stop there?
You
can we
have
stop
the
there, Vaush,
deference
please?
to.
Right
Let's
there.
stop there.
He
submitted himself.
Wait, no.
He
Hold
submitted
on.
himself.
He never wants to
the
stop
courts.
on one point. He wants to go like 15
I know,
points.
no. It's fine. It's fine. Wait, he stopped. He stopped.
Wait, do you want me to give the reason or not? Do you want to argue that or what?
Wait, hold on. Wait, really quickly.
In order to explain one point, you bring up like 7 things tangentially that are all wrong and disagreeable, and then like nobody wants to go back to the original point.
Said so far that's wrong.
Okay, I'll explain. Can I really quick?
Wait, hold on. Because wait, please, one person at a time. Destiny is so horny to disagree with me for his audience that he's jumping in accusing me of saying things incorrect. What if I said it's incorrect?
Destiny,
I'll tell you.
What if I said, hey buddy, I've been in
saying-
here for an hour and a half, you jumped in here because of me. What did I say that was incorrect about it?
First of all, I jumped in here because I had another job argument on fascism. I said there way more than you have, okay? Secondly,
what did I say that was incorrect?
You said so many things that are incorrect. The fact that you think the majority of voters, that people that voted for Trump are fascists. I don't remember all the incorrect things. I don't remember. I don't remember
the past 30 seconds. You don't remember what I said? You just said that I've said incorrect things. What did I say?
Remember when Vaush was crying because people wouldn't let him finish his 22 paragraph answers? I don't remember all the wrong things you said because every time you explain or respond to somebody, you have to say 15 more things. So we never actually get to go back. No,
I said one thing about Bush. Wait. He's saying incorrect things. What did I say that was incorrect?
Something that was incorrect.
Wait. This is simple. Destiny, don't do the meta conversation thing, right? You would be frustrated. No, listen. He's asking you directly, what did I just say about Bush in the election that you disagree with?
Mad.
Can you respond to that? Because you don't like meta conversations.
I was curious why he thought the outcome of that election was fascist, or why that was fascist leaning.
Anti-democratic. I think that having an elected representative who's your brother, who facilitates the implementation of a ballot system that was very clearly out of line with previous expectations and led to very specific and targeted results which favored your brother, and then going by the results of that election and then getting your party on board with all of the presuppositions and justifications of that ballot implementation is fairly anti-democratic.
Okay,
but before I had even finished that point, you were screaming.
That's enough. He's already wrong. Wait. No, we can't stop. We can't stop there. That's what I was going to address. That's where the point. That's where the problem comes in. I don't think that's fascist even a little bit. What I think is you can say that
is it anti-democratic?
You can say it's anti-democratic, right? But then hold on. Wait. There's a bunch of things. There are a bunch of other election systems that would not be fascist, right? Like things that Stalin did weren't necessarily fascist. So I know you're trying to build a case, but if you build a case and the first premise of your case is flawed, then that means now you're building a gish. But you are building a gish gallop because at this point that's not fascist. Just saying anti-democratic is not enough to say fascist, even a little bit.
That's why I wasn't done. Wait, hold on. Why do you think Bush is fascist? Okay, let me give out some arguments to explain some tenets of fascism that he adhered to. First, anti-democracy. Well, hold on. That didn't singly prove the fascism. Well, I know there are more points to be made.
This wasn't an active stop. So one is Bush submitted himself. Bush submitted himself to the authority of the court.
I'm aware of that. Okay, I don't think that makes it not anti-democratic. The way in which that behavior was very
of democracy.
Wait, hold on.
Senators are appointed by elected officials. Sorry.
So an action can't be anti-democratic if a court ends up signing off on it. Is that correct?
Not
if
if
a court
everything
signs off on it.
if everything follows
Judges
the
are
democratic
appointed by
process,
elected
correct?
officials.
Yes.
No, that is not what. No,
on
that
the
is
substantive
absolutely
issue-
not the case. So
on
hold
the
on, wait.
substantive issue, it wasn't even a 5-4.
Bush's? Sorry, not Bush. Would Trump's big lie then not have been anti-democratic if the courts had ended up agreeing with him and all of his ridiculous court cases gone through? No, it still would have been anti-democratic.
No,
Even
no,
if they
no,
just
no,
passed
no,
it
no.
through a
Okay,
democratic system.
I'm really, no, hold on. I'm so glad that you're saying this because to a lot of left-leaning people, anti-democratic means it doesn't agree with me. This is why they want to eliminate the filibuster. This is why they want to pack the courts. This is why they want to delete the Senate because everything that doesn't agree.
Answer the question. Would Trump's big lie have been anti-democratic if the courts had agreed with it?
Let Destiny finish.
If the data supported it.
If he followed the democratic process and that process turned out a decision, you can't say that it's anti-democratic. You might not like the decision, but it's not anti-democratic.
So hold on. Let me just ask. If Trump's big lie had been affirmed by the courts, would you have considered it anti-democratic?
If when you say his big lie that the election was stolen or whatever, no, wait, let me fucking do this one back and
The
forth.
broader effort to suppress the mail-in votes, the whole the campaign that was raised across the country in an effort to secure the election illegitimately.
If he won his supreme, if the courts turned out the decision, then that's the decision that goes. That's not an anti-democratic thing. No.
Okay,
Well,
I fundamentally disagree.
No, Vosh, you don't. He doesn't.
Hold on.
That's fine if
hold on.
that's
Wait,
fine if
really
he
quickly. I know that Destiny is lying here because he had the opposite take on Morales.
Why are you
in
having a
Bolivia.
meta conversation about
Hold
this?
on,
No,
because the
that was
Supreme
different
Court
because
in
he
literally about
deleted,
fascism,
he
isn't it?
Morales deleted the part of the court that didn't agree with him. That's a totally that would be an example of an anti-democratic
through a legal process.
Vosh, hold on.
Wait,
Vosh.
hold on. Wait, Fanatic, hold on. We need to do one thing at a time. So I remember Destiny criticizing Evo Morales because he got behind an amendment to the Constitution that was made by the Supreme Court. A legal process entirely done through the legal endowments of the Bolivian Supreme Court, which nonetheless he was comfortable calling anti-democratic, one which I am comfortable calling anti-democratic, because it is entirely possible for a democratic system to allow anti-democratic acts to take place. To suggest otherwise is absolutely ridiculous.
While that is true, we would have to see what steps were being taken by the people and if they were necessarily anti-democratic. So, for instance, if somebody, we'll say, for instance, somebody like Morales loses an election or is unable to get something passed, and then they fundamentally alter the structure or the institution in order to get something passed, now we can make arguments like, this feels like a little bit anti-democratic. So let's say, for instance, it doesn't matter. Trump won the election. That's part of what the president of the United States is allowed to do. Is appoint judges.
So wait, the Supreme Court legally changed the Constitution to expand term limits for Evo Morales.
Supreme Court doesn't change. No, I can't.
Legality is not sufficient, but it's some evidence that you're comporting with democracy.
Oh, I see. So
it's
this is a completely arbitrary standard that gets invoked or not invoked.
He's so bad at
how mad
arguing.
we are.
I think the point that Destiny is making is that
extrinsic evidence
inside of this.
The election, by all accounts, was extremely close. And there's some
is this anti-democratic? Would it own the lefties to say it's anti-democratic?
No.
Let me think for a minute.
Wait,
do you have what's your quantum of evidence to suggest that Gore won Florida? There are some studies after the fact that indicate he won by some hundred of votes, but the process matters, right? And whether or not Florida State administrators followed that process also matters.
The process absolutely matters. However, so here's an example, by the way. This is an example that I love to bring up, okay? It is the North Carolina voter ID law. So there was an attempt made in North Carolina to ban the admission of certain types of voter identification, which just so happened to completely coincide with the types of identification Black people are more likely to use. They also targeted certain windows, availabilities of voting. There was a lot to it. It happened a while ago, but basically it was pretty clearly, and it was ruled as such, an attack on the ability for Black people to vote. So it's entirely possible, alt universe, that law could have gone unchallenged by the courts. It could have gone straight through. A legal law passed with the full backing and credibility
arguing against no one.
Hold on. Hold on. It could have passed legally, and it still would have been anti-democratic.
Okay, Pete, go. Let me. I've been trying to get in a point. Let me try to get.
Can we disambiguate these two things? Can we disambiguate these two things?
That's what I've been trying to do this whole time.
It still can be anti-democratic.
The process and the effect, okay? The process can be democratic. The effect cannot be. It can those demolish democracy. Like,
it doesn't just stop there. It doesn't just stop there. Look, Destiny's been trying to make this point this entire time, and I think this is something that you keep ignoring, Vaush. It's not just whether or not it went through the courts. That's not enough. It's the fact that you would have to prove that it went through the courts and the courts did something untoward, and at that point, then you'd be able to say it's anti-democratic. Once someone submits themselves to the court, assuming all things are on the up and up, and there's nothing subversive happening by the courts themselves, then at that point you have to say you can no longer say it's anti-democratic, and that's what Bush did.
Hold on. For examples that I've already provided, I fundamentally disagree. It's entirely possible to push for anti-democratic things democratically. We had Jim Crow in this country, for God's sake. Wait, please let me finish. I saw you open your mouth. We had, for decades, an explicit system of second-class citizenship for Black people, which was entirely supported through the legal framework of our country.
We all know.
That was anti-democratic. Yes, it was.
Legality is something. Wait, Vaush. Legality is not enough.
There's a very
wait, please, God. I know we're so horny to jump on these points, but yes, it is
just
possible.
Don't gish gallop, please.
For something
it's a straw man.
Because this is wait, hold on. Nobody's straw manning, and it's not a gish gallop. I've been trying to make the same point this entire time. And a straw man would be a mischaracterization of other people's points.
It is a mischaracterization.
I'm only trying to describe my own. I'm only describing my own. And my point is that even if something is passed democratically, it can be anti-democratic. This is self-evidently true. If you look at the history of the legal system in this country, Jim Crow was passed democratically.
No one denies this. You keep saying it. No one denies it.
We agree something can be democratically passed.
Nobody said that legality was sufficient to know that something is democratic. But following procedure.
Well, then why did Destiny make that point?
No, I made that point that submitting yourself to the court, following procedures, not, in this particular case, there's not a great deal of evidence.
Wait, they did that with Jim Crow. There were plenty of court cases.
Right,
you need to show
when you're saying quantum. Your question implied that the judges would have come up with a different decision, which implies that there would have been some different evidence that would have been evaluated when they were going over all of the election stuff.
I'm simply saying that you can have a law passed through a democratic process with judges signing off at it, even in good faith, and it can still be an anti-democratic law. This is obviously the case.
You need a
7.1 on Bush, by the way.
I'm
so horny to disagree with every premise here.
To show you need to prove that other quantum of evidence that's anti-democratic. You need to suggest to me and tell me why was it anti-democratic. Everything else that you're talking about with this election. I mean, it was
anti-democratic.
So this election was decided by some hundreds of votes, right? And it was decided, as we know, famously by.
I would need to reread because I haven't actually had to read this for a while. But if I remember correctly, the butterfly ballots were essentially an inexplicable alteration to the previous balloting system that were all but explicitly designed to confuse older people in certain areas of the state to vote for a candidate that they otherwise wouldn't have voted for, to take votes away from Al Gore. So I think that is very obviously being done with the intent to manipulate the legitimate outcome of the election. It was done nepotistically from a relative of the person who was president to be. Now, I consider that fundamentally anti-democratic, a smear on the ideals of this country. That it ended up passing, that may mean it was legitimately anti-democratic. It may have followed the law, but I still think it's anti-democratic, thus anti-democracy.
Where's your proof of this?
I do have a
only
question real quick. I do have
this point to such a level of depth. What else do you want? It's obviously an attempt to manipulate the legitimate outcome of the election by confusing voters.
It's not obviously that unless you have evidence of it.
My contention here is that the butterfly ballots, your argument, as I understand it, is that they were intentionally made in order to rig the election for George W. Bush. That's a pretty George Bush. Sorry,
that's a big claim.
That's a pretty extraordinary claim.
Let me bring up my 21-year-old documentation.
You're just throwing it out there. No evidence.
Not throwing it out. Hold on. Wait. The idea that I'm the only person who is making this claim is ridiculous.
Believe that. That's very conspiratorial thinking.
Fraud in 2020.
Wait, I'm sorry. Wait, we are regressing so quickly into low IQ arguments, but I'm glad we're all kept in good company here and everyone who agrees to disagree with me. So if you are in charge of deciding
and the 7 Supreme Court justices that also disagree with you, by the way.
Hold on.
Yeah, but one of them is fascist.
By
just
the way,
one was fascist. That's still 6 non-fascist Supreme Court justices. But
will this retort own the left? Let me interject. So with regards to the butterfly ballots, just like with the North Carolina voter ID laws, we are taking a look at an unjustified but significant change to an existing system, which had a very deliberate outcome and seemed to be done by people with a very deliberate motive.
You
now,
know that.
If anyone who is a lawyer or I guess has graduated high school can tell you, trying to infer intent from people's behaviors is part of understanding what they wanted to do.
Same exact argument back to you in the
You're
context
about
of
to say that
2020.
I said intent doesn't matter, but now
No, I'm not about to say that. I'm not about to say that. So in 2020, right, a lot of laws were changed in response to COVID in a deliberate attempt, Republicans might say, to change the content of who's going to vote. That's their argument for showing that these laws were anti-democratic or somehow perverse.
A few were changed.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
A few were actually changed without approval as well, right? By different state legislators. That's why some ballots in Pennsylvania, I believe, got thrown out.
To the voting system are anti-democratic.
That's what you're saying. It's
no,
I think your analysis is
backwards.
You're
working backwards from a conclusion.
This is the line that you're in with now. You might as well be agreeing with Rob or something in the next panel. Listen, I said
all the unnecessary ad hominems because you don't understand that you're so upset that if a democratic process disagrees with you, that you can't just call it undemocratic.
Since you crawled in here to get my attention, you've got my attention. Congratulations. I wouldn't harp on it. Now, with regards to the Florida situation and the butterfly ballots, I have not just said a thing happened that benefited Republicans. It was a thing happened with an unjustified excuse for being implemented. You know why they put forward those the mail-in ballot laws. It was because of COVID. There was a clear
no,
and
not just
obvious.
That. No. In 2019, in Pennsylvania,
stop. Pisco, let him finish.
Let him gish gallop. Pisco, shut the fuck up. Let him keep saying wrong shit.
Galloping is when you respond to one point in nuance. Everybody, get your definitions from somewhere else. Anyway, with regards to the mail-in ballots, there was a clear and obvious reason why they were implemented. Because of COVID. It was a common sense policy that anyone could justify. That ended up benefiting the Democrats by majority was mostly because Republican propaganda kept Republicans from taking the COVID threat seriously. So with regards to the butterfly ballots, there was no existing justification for the alteration to the ballots. It was a highly unusual change to the ballots that had a very specific outcome done by people with a very specific intent.
I'm saying if the ballots were put in Democratic places, it doesn't mean that it wasn't done intentionally.
Anger,
maybe they were intentionally put in Democratic places in order to skew the Democratic votes specifically. And so, because they didn't feel like they needed to do it with Republicans, because they already
brother of a presidential candidate making an unjustified alteration with a specific outcome to voting in a very marginal state. But I say no. These are actually not the same thing. There are critical differences. One of them is undemocratic, anti-democratic, actually, and one of them isn't.
So the 2019 Pennsylvania law predates COVID. And that was a law that extended absolute mail-in voting.
We didn't
to
even
everyone
get to the rest of the Bush points. But
what I'm targeting... Wait. That's fair. Hold on. That's fair because one of these 14 points that I found was fascist regimes tend to make use of patriotic models, whatever. So under that, and paraphernalia and flags, under that I could name fucking anything fascist. So how many points, how many tenets does this have to cover before it becomes fascist?
Flags? What are we? Come on.
This is your 14 points that you brought up. How many does it need to cover before it's fascist?
So we're gonna have this discussion you're scanning the points. One component of fascism is ultranationalism.
But that's all you're only talking about one point of this. To say that the entire to say that Bush is fascist.
Are we moving off Bush? Are we doing definitions 101? What are we moving to? Where's the next line?
Let's not focus on definition.
I'm still on Bush. I'm just trying to figure out some other points.
I was going to leave at midnight. I didn't expect to be here for 2 hours, but I guess I'm here for it now. What do we want to move to next? What's the next line?
You still haven't addressed the bullet thing. You make a claim, but this is very conspiratorial thinking in nature. You come to this, you have a conclusion, and then you work backwards from it. There's no really justifiable way that you have presented to say that the butterfly ballots were purposely and intentionally made. This is
the problem.
Intentionally made. in order
There's
to influence
no
the election.
problem here. There's no problem
crazy.
here. And
That's
Wick has been making points basically like this since the beginning of the panel, not actually adding anything, but just like underlying doubt by making really dumb accusations.
Oh my God,
That's a problem. There is a problem.
Wait, hold on. This is the last thing that I have to say on this. The idea that saying there was funny business in Florida in 2000 with regards to the butterfly ballots is conspiratorial and unjustified is a hysterical claim that I'm not going to justify further.
That would be, if that was your claim, that would be a tremendous walkback. You didn't say there was some funny business. You started going on about the brother was the governor and they clearly changed things so that they were trying to let the election go a different way. That is way different than funny business. You implied a conspiracy, much the same that Trump and the other Republicans do about the 2020 election. You're literally making the exact same claims on the other side.
The common position that the governor of Florida aided his brother in the presidency by doing an unjustified a ballot change that ended up specifically helping him is exactly the same as Donald Trump lying about the election. Did you not say? I'm sorry. This is, by the way, from the guy who was out there.
What you've just said so far, by the way, is ridiculous. What you've just said, by the way, is ridiculous. It wasn't just one person. It was an entire state legislature. It was a Florida Supreme Court and the actual Supreme Court.
Hold on, let him go.
You argued
are you done?
that the North Carolina voter ID law is racist.
Why do you keep bringing
people.
up
Hold
other
on, because it's comparable against people making the same arguments you're making now. Do you know what the people you argued with said? They said, this is conspiratorial. You can't actually say there was this intent here. Sure, there may have been motive and the outcome was very deliberate and there was evidence that they would have had a specific reason to have done it in the way that they did.
For the Bush case.
No, the North Carolina. No,
Wait,
Shut up.
I wasn't even done, but I'm almost done. You are making arguments antithetical.
Everyone, hold on. Don't worry. I'll help you out. Shut up for a second. We got to have order. Look, I told you we should have moved to a private panel. You don't want to do that. Okay, fine.
I just like the idea that ultra progressive Destiny is saying the accusation that Bush and his brother were responsible for
it's not an argument.
Fixing the ballots.
I want to attack this point because nobody is.
I just like that ultra progressive Destiny, who definitely hasn't slid to the right in his spite against the lefties, is saying that is comparable
you're not adding to the conversation. You know that.
Add
to the conversation.
So I'm muting some people.
There's 20 people who open their mouths. They're so triggered.
I just have to respond to the North Carolina because he does this. He drops a really bad claim, follows it up it's like the Rubio in the Democratic debates.
You made since you come on here, buddy.
This is the Vaush strategy. It's vaguely respond to the point and drop a bad analogy that doesn't fit, and then make an ad hom. You try to win the debate, and have an optics win.
The Trump big lie to Bush in 2020, and you want to impugn me for bad analogies? You're such a clown.
Because the comparison. Are you okay? You sound actually so upset right now. I'm so sorry.
You came in here mad as fuck, and the smile doesn't fool anyone, by the way. I'm not mad. I just laugh really hard whenever I'm called out on my bad.
I love it because there are some people in this world, like you and Fuentes. I think I'm legitimately the only people that piss you off. I actually wear that with pride. So, okay, when you say, well, you use these arguments for North Carolina, you imply that in North Carolina there is a conspiracy, and I'm implying it in Florida. Guess what? In Florida, the Supreme Court made a ruling on that, and there wasn't a conspiracy. As far as I'm aware, now I could be wrong, I have never been made aware of some broad conspiracy between Bush and his brother to rig that election. Now, when you talk about North Carolina, my understanding is that more or less a conspiracy had kind of been proved. The state legislature in North Carolina, and you should know this because you copy-paste all of my opinions, so I know you've heard me say this exact line before, the North Carolina state legislature literally specifically requested by race different voter data from different areas and then closed down
why were the butterfly ballots implemented?
If that was the case, why was anybody implementing anything around the coronavirus?
Why was anyone implementing? What a phenomenal rebuttal. Why specifically that incredibly strangely laid out, very different ballot?
Why didn't the Supreme Court agree with you, Vaush? Why didn't the Supreme Court agree with you?
So now we return back to the previous argument, and I have to ask you, would you still be saying the North Carolina voter law was racist if the courts hadn't disagreed with it?
Vaush, this is the same bad argument that you made earlier.
I'm assuming that the process is working to some extent. So if the court decided something different,
legality determines whether or not something's anti-democratic.
No, that's not. It's determining the outcome of what happened. If there was footage, here's what you're doing. This is the equivalent of what you're doing. So let me just demonstrate this, right? Let's say that a man shoots somebody in cold blood, and there's 52 videos of it, and everybody sees it, and then the court says like, oh, he did it, and he gets locked in jail. And Vaush is saying, well, what if they would have decided something different? Well, it's hard to imagine that. I mean, if there was different evidence or something, then sure. You're telling me if the courts would have decided something different on the North Carolina case, or different in the Trump case, or different in the Bush v. Gore case, then would it be different? I don't know. Maybe if they're looking over different evidence or something, but we can all see like the evidence that they spoke about. We can all read the argument. Well, let me finish. Okay, I'm specifically addressing the things you're specifically saying. Okay, the courts ruled it in a certain way. So right now, the onus is on you to tell us, just like it is on the Republicans right now that think that Trump had the election stolen from them. The onus is on them to tell us, why did all the judges get it wrong? The onus is on you to tell us, even with a one fascist Scalia, there were still 6 other Supreme Court justices that disagreed with you in the Bush v. Gore case. You need to tell us why they're wrong without alleging some vague conspiracy with zero evidence, which is the exact same thing that Trump and the rest of the Trumples do right now against our current system that said that he lost the election.
So first of all, your spiel there had little to nothing to do with what I said, so I'm not sure of its relevance. And second of all,
oh my God.
Okay. Okay. Count on.
Beautiful.
Yeah, you can. Okay. So Katarana, you can go. But I just gotta let you know, like, I had no idea that your hand was up until someone in the chat let me know. You gotta like put lights on. It's very difficult.
My lights are on. I'm just black. I'm sorry.
This is very difficult. So I'm gonna go ahead.
Okay.
Hold it in front of the camera.
This Lover's Quarrel, I'm loving it. Content, beautiful, but like, can't we get to something where it's not just like Destiny versus Vaush jerk off time?
We're discussing the point. He came on here to talk with me. He's made accusation after accusation. He walks back attack after attack.
No, but like anything else, like I'll do anything.
Great. Thank you. Vaush and Destiny, finish what you were doing.
Well, I'll just finish the point because it seemed like we're never going to go anywhere with this. So Destiny has retreated to the previous position, which I already indicated was pretty unjustifiable, that legality doesn't determine whether or not something is or is not conspiratorial or anti-democracy. And he can't seem to answer whether or not the North Carolina voter ID laws would be something he would consider to be racist in intent if the courts had not ruled in the way they were, even if the evidence was the same. So there's plenty of documentation out there. I'm sure plenty of people watching are too young to remember any of this. I know I was like 4 at the time, so I had to read about it afterwards.
In that election,
hold on. With regards to the butterfly ballots, there was like obviously shady shit going on with clear intent. I think that I've demonstrated that there was intent, there was motive, and there was no other justification for the things that they did. It wasn't like there was some other conceivable explanation. It was pretty targeted.
Why did the court disagree with you?
Hold on. I don't have the individual rulings of all the justices, but I'm not appealing to legality to determine whether or not something is anti-democracy or not. I think that every judge on earth can rule against me, and I can still make a compelling argument for why I believe something is conspiratorial or why I think they did something anti-democratic.
Why so you're the exact same thing as every single...
Hold on. It's okay. You'll get your chance soon, buddy. Don't worry. Much in the same way that I think that Evo Morales' Supreme Court voting in favor of the constitutional reforms they did were anti-democratic, in spite of the fact that all of them agreed. How could they have all agreed? Am I alleging conspiracy? No. I just think different people have different priorities and different ways of seeing the world. I am not in the heads of all of the Supreme Court judges back 21 years ago, so I can't specifically allege their intents. But the idea that I'm like out here in the blue making the claim that there was funny business back in Florida or that there was some conspiracy or deliberate intent to influence the vote is, well, it's very funny. And it's certainly not a position I would expect to come from a progressive or even a person willing to vote for Joe Biden, but it owned the left briefly. So we're never actually going...
Hold on, you can keep ad-homming over and over again. I'm not going to sit here and wait for you to finish your dumb fuck arguments, okay? You have not given a single reason for why you believe the court was wrong.
We're letting Destiny in.
Yeah, okay, yeah, don't just cut him off if he starts ad-homing. It's really creepy. I don't know why he's like so obsessed with like making the personal attacks. If you are going to disagree with the courts and you're going to levy an extreme accusation, not only are these courts wrong, but I believe that Bush is fascist for this particular reason related to the courts being wrong, you better have a really good reason for why they were wrong. And you can't just say, well, I disagree with them. I think it was in a Twitter thread I read a long time ago, but I don't remember. That's all I'm saying. So in the future, maybe be like, I don't know how I feel about Bush. Instead of coming out here and so strongly asserting, oh, I'm pretty sure him and Scalia were fascists. Well, why? Well, because of the Florida stuff. Well, why?
I notice he's deferring to other points now. This would be Gish Gallop if you actually wanted to see it.
It's not a Gish Gallop. Okay,
Can I ask a really important clarifier real quick?
Referencing points.
Okay. These are the exact same points. Everyone here can hear the conversation. We're going around on the exact same points.
You don't know to earlier points because you ran
I'm not
away
running.
from this one.
I'm
The
literally
idea that
responding to
that
exactly what you're
Bush
talking
election was like the result of election tampering is hardly a unique position. Because I'm not familiar with the Supreme Court documentation does not make my arguments less
It's hardly
salient.
unique among like less people on Twitter.
Your argument is you need to explain. Wait, hold on. Just to be clear, Destiny's position on this is literally, in order for you to allege conspiratorial intent, you need to tell me the exact motives of every judge who voted against it. So this is clearly not a counter position being taken in good faith.
Distorted listening.
Being taken out of spite.
There are so many other worlds. If I was the guy that could see in the Avengers movie like 50 million other stories or whatever, there's like 49 million of them where you're just like a Trump saying all of these exact same arguments about how Trump was robbed of the election. I guess you'll never see that. I mean, Peace Garden.
So again,
like you're literally making every single of the exact same argument that all the Trump people are making. It's the exact same arguments, word for word almost. Like you could copy paste these, you could Control plus V these, and they would fit perfectly for Trump.
All arguments that there are problems with the judicial result and conspiracy underlying behavior of the people who went to that court are equally bad. All of them are equally unjustifiable. This is the mind of a radical centrist, by the way. He doesn't actually believe what he's saying, but it does help him own the left a little bit. Just, I want you, and this is the last thing I'll say legitimately, and then I'll cede the point to whatever. He's saying that the accusation, which I've substantiated, by the way, the fact that there was no other reason to implement those butterfly ballots, it was done by a person with clear intent, motive, blah, 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 that accusation is the same as what Trump has done, is so flagrantly anti-intellectual, it could only be made either by an idiot or a person who's
These aren't even like arguments, it's just random ad homs. This works so much better like when you're just doing the YouTube format and screaming at your audience, but like if you're actually talking to other people, you should try to respond to the argument instead of just like reaching and reaching for like these weird ad homs. No, like you're the only one in here that is digging so hard for these ad homs.
Were there any other conversations people wanted to have? I mean, he just wanted to talk with me. Do you want a private room, Destiny? Is that what you came here to ask me for? Because I am going.
I just want to make one point, then I'll drop this point entirely, and we can move on. But saying that there's no other reason is what you're saying is there's no other reason that I can think of. There's no other reason than conspiratorial intent that you can think of.
You
and
can
that's
apply that
fair,
criticism to
but
literally
that's a
any
fucking
argument.
leap, dude. That's a
This
real
is
fucking
that's a counter argument.
leap. And the fact that you don't recognize this is kind of silly. But I'll drop it, and we can move on to another topic. Thank you.
You can make that counterpoint at any.
I just got one last thing to say.
One thing I'd like to say real quick. It's just an aside. Destiny, I'm a farmer from Nebraska, and I heard you were from Nebraska at one point. So whenever you say something I agree with, I always think that's the Nebraska talking.
Only the endorsements today for really getting the cream of the crop up here.
Vaush,
well, I mean, the king of extreme. I mean, what can I say? I'm pretty
Vaush,
awesome.
Fanatic,
go ahead.
Yeah, I think that, man, there's literally just one point that I really feel like you keep saying, going back to the same argument about like trying to create this comparison between like the idea that for us to be able to say that this thing, nothing untoward happened. It's not even that nothing untoward happened altogether. There's just so much middle ground between the idea of someone being a fascist and what you're saying. Like
we're like 20 points to go now.
No. We're not 20. No. We are not 20 points in. We're not 20 points in. This has been the same conversation. That has been the main point that's been underscoring this entire conversation. It's literally been. It's literally been this whole time trying to get you to explain what it is about Bush that's fascist. And this is the first point that you brought in, and the way that you've been trying to defend it. We've been trying to make the same point the entire time. That clearly the Supreme Court didn't agree with you, and it's not just that the Supreme Court didn't agree with you. It's that the Supreme Court disagreed with you while we didn't see any evidence of any Bush having any control over the Supreme Court such that it would allow him to subvert the democratic process. So that right there, that distinction, when you keep retreating back to the point of, well, yeah, you guys are making the analogy of you guys are making the argument that just because it's legal, that's not what we're just saying. It's not just because it's legal. It's because it was upheld by the Supreme Court, and we have no evidence.
That's a legality argument.
It's these two in tandem.
Funny.
No. It's not. No. Stop. It's not just that. You gotta let me finish the statement. These two things are working. These two things are working concomitantly. It's not just that it was upheld by the Supreme Court. It was that it was upheld by the Supreme Court, and we don't have any evidence that the Supreme Court was affected or controlled or did anything subversive. Those things together are what are causing that. So when you bring up these other analogies, most of them haven't even fit.
I don't think I've been bringing up that many analogies. I think the only one that I brought up is the North Carolina voter ID law, which I think accurately demonstrated the ways in which something can be anti-democratic, whether or not the courts end up agreeing with or disagreeing with it. Not to mention, I mentioned Jim Crow earlier. I tried to describe the reasons why I thought the Bush was fascistic, but I didn't really get a chance to because we got hung up in the first point. A point so self-evident and simplistic, by the way, that it was generally accepted as the common talking point amongst Democrats in 2000, people who today I would consider conservative, given how far the Overton window has shifted to the left in that time. But since then, I suppose it's become a contentious point amongst conservatives and people acting like them for the sake of voting to the left.
Then what's the second point?
We're not actually able to move any further on this, and I can't actually respond to like 16 people jumping in at every point that I have to make. So with all that being said, do we want to disentangle me slightly from the subject of this panel so we can move on? Because if we don't, it's going to be in a loop for the next hour.
I would like that, please.
I'm not even making money from this. I should have turned on my stream if I knew it was going to be this contentious.
You should. That's we would have enjoyed the nipples.
Viewership, Brian Case. I'm sorry. That was rude of me. Next time I'll turn it on. Okay.
Okay. Thanks. Okay.
Wait,
so,
Brian, can I just say one? Can I please say one thing? I've done my hand up forever. My fucking dress strap broke waiting to talk, and I had to go change. So like. Here's the thing. I think it's a little like, and I was listening to it the whole time when I was changing, and I kind of couldn't believe what I heard. The fact that something happens through a democratic process does not mean that the outcome of that thing isn't fascist. In fact, the way that fascists historically have gone and risen to power is because they exploit the democratic systems and mechanisms within like a democratic system in order to consolidate power and then implement policies that are anti-democratic, and that can be reinforced like by democratic means. Like this happens all the time. This has been the stated policy of the GOP for a long time. And I feel like I was taking crazy pills because I'm like, do people not like acknowledge that?
Maddie, no. You're just saying
that happens regularly.
I just addressed
that happens routinely. And here's the thing:
you can't say that after what I just said. You weren't listening.
History, Fanatic, you can have a chance in a second. I'm fucking talking. Like there are so many examples of things that at the time were upheld through a democratic process, whether it was through a judge,
you're just saying the same
through the legislature, but that then later was repealed or whatever because they say, you know what, that actually was anti-democratic or that was preventing people from voting. That's why things like voter ID laws have been passed and then brought back, or a lot of them are still in place. But those are patently anti-democratic, but they still passed in a democratic system. But like those are fascist. So I don't know. It just I feel like we're just here for a proxy fight between Vaush and Destiny. And I just wish you guys would relax up so we can move on.
We've been talking about the points this whole time.
Maddie, you literally didn't contribute. I don't know how you didn't hear what I just said. This is insane to me. You literally just made the same point that I already addressed. It's not just that one thing. It's not just that it passed a democratic process. It's not just the Supreme Court upheld it. It would have to be, you'd have to show that Bush had some sort of undue influence over the Supreme Court such that he could cause them to do something subversive in order for you to say that it was fascist. The Supreme Court, or you have to make the argument that the Supreme Court themselves are being fascist, which neither of those statements are being made. So what you just said is complete nonsense. You're not even contributing.
Oh, okay.
How does persuasion come into it being fascist or not?
Well, we'll go to Nacho.
Yeah, that was not.
And then
she didn't say anything either.
GSU, Pisco, and Vivian, who I had muted for the longest time,
by the way,
want to say anything. So Nacho.
So I was trying to figure out, like, let's say we grant you this one thing, like that's why I was bringing that up. Like, how many of these things? First of all, like, how many of these things does it have to cover before it's like, before it's considered fascist? And then, do you have anything else to point to as far as like reasons why you think that Bush is fascist?
And Fanatic, you've been muted. All right, keep going.
Is that me?
Yeah, I guess that's you.
Yes.
There's a hard line on how many points. Anytime you're trying to ascribe like political effects to a given candidate or whatever, it's going to be a super like complicated and nuanced and highly subjective process. So I just don't have an answer to that. With regards to Bush, after the anti-democratic stuff, the main stuff that I was going to reinforce was hyper-nationalism, xenophobia, the deference to religious authority to justify persecution of other groups, and there's a whole bunch of stuff involving Muslims in the Iraq War, and war crimes, and and the camp we have in Cuba, whose name I'm blanking on right now, and there was stuff I was going to feed into with that, and then later in towards his presidency, if I remember correctly, and I could look this up again in the future, I feel like there were more overt populist messages being delivered by his party that he signed off on. Not signed up like he didn't literally sign up, but like he sort of led in with them and passively enabled them as the president. He was nowhere near as much of a fascist as Trump. I mean, we're almost talking night and day, but I feel like the behavior that he engaged in really laid the groundwork. You also have the Guantanamo Bay. Thank you. I can't believe I forgot that. You also have stuff like the Patriot Act, which, I mean, to be fair, I guess that just every president supports it now. But at the time, it was a pretty astonishing like retraction of our civil rights. And there was a lot of other stuff too that I remembered an hour ago. I forget now, but stuff like that. I think he lays groundwork, and that's the problem. That I don't think neoconservatism and fascism are two like really, really distinct things, which is the reason why a bunch of Republicans who used to be neocons are now like total, full-on, like practically QAnon, big lie, sucking Trump stick types. It seems like it's an easy line to blur, and that's the reason why I called Bush fascistic. I think the same criticisms apply further back, like more, probably lesser so with time, though I feel like Bush Sr. and Nixon stand out to me as people who are probably aberrantly fascist-leaning, respectively, within their own time periods. And then you go further and further back, and it becomes less and less applicable. But even then, like back in the 1950s and stuff, with all the McCarthy era, like Cold War, Red Scare type stuff, there were a lot of really obvious, like the Frankfurt Conspiracy came about back then. The idea that there were leftist intellectuals in academia and government that were like, I mean, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, maybe Jewish, that were controlling like American intellectual like elites and like driving college students to be anti-American, stuff like this. Stuff like that makes me think like leaning fascist. And where the line is, I can't really say, but I can see the pattern now in hindsight, now that I live in 2021, and it led up to Trump, and that was a very dangerous path to walk. That's the overall argument. And I guess it would take 80 million hours to substantiate all of that, but that's the broader argument that I make.
Okay, GSU.
Yeah, so I had some points made like an hour ago. It's annoying to me that people are saying, hey, this is like a proxy war. Like, first off, Vaush said some things and I wanted to interrogate what he said, and that's kind of what started all this. So this is not some, hey, let's proxy war with Destiny and Vaush. I actually was like trying to get him to defend the statements that he made. But the thing that I think you haven't addressed, Vaush, and the thing that I was going to bring up like an hour ago when I got muted, but it's exactly what Fanatic just said. So with the thing in North Carolina, there's an actual causal link that we can draw to, right? We can say that they requested voter data and then they made a decision solely based off that voter data that was like surgically precise to disenfranchise Black voters. What I think everybody has been saying to you that I don't think you've addressed is that there seems to not be this case in the example for the Florida thing. So we can say that Jeb Bush was in power, but there seems to be no causal link that we can draw from Jeb Bush to the state secretary that was over the election, to the election being carried out, to the judges that justified the election. There seems to be no causal link at all to call this anti-democratic because none of that evidence exists. And that's what I wanted to ask you like an hour ago. It sounds like what you're saying is, hey, it was his brother. Like, you know, it's got to be something there, right? And what we're saying is that bar is so low that it's disgusting to use rhetoric as it's fascistic based off that type of bar.
It's about using the evidence that you have to the best of your ability. You're not always going to have stuff as clear cut as getting like the search history of the state legislators indicating that they were looking up what types of like voter IDs Black people used. It's not always going to be that clear cut. So when it comes to the Bush v. Gore situation, I'm far from the first person to make this claim. It's not just that it was convenient, and convenient it was. It was that there seemed to be no other reason to put forward the butterfly ballots. And the butterfly ballots were so specifically and oddly designed. You can look them up right now. The way they organized, like the listing of the candidates, it wasn't just unusual, it was unprecedented. Nobody did it that way. And you have to think, like, why would they do this unbelievably weird thing? The only logical explanation is the one which is the outcome it led to, which is that people who otherwise would have voted for Gore, the boomers in Florida, then voted for another candidate because their strained cataract-ridden eyeballs couldn't actually see the script on the page. And there's been plenty of analysis after the fact to indicate that that did have that effect. Now, I can't look into their brains and tell you what they were thinking. I can't prove it because very rarely can you prove intent. You usually need like written statements, or like they need a confession or something like that. But I think that's a fair logical
Unsubbing.
understanding of the events that took place. And this is a fairly
You never even been
well-researched
here
topic
before.
too.
You
Like
don't
this is a
even know me.
fairly,
I've debated Destiny
as
more.
I understood it, agreed
Freak
upon
outta it. You're
assessment
an
of the
idiot.
2000 election. By the way, is my mic still doing the thing? Do I need to
A
come
little
back
bit.
and
No,
A little bit. No,
Let
it's
me-
much better.
Mostly better.
one second.
Okay. He'll come back in, but I changed the thing, the region, and that helps.
Be on his.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
coming
it's
back.
way
Okay.
better now.
So it was way better. I did change the region for you, and it's way better since. So
Sorry,
finish up
that's
your
my
point, then I'll go-
Discord really hates me. I don't know why, and I don't know how to fix it. So I'm sorry.
Yeah. So okay, let's go to Pisco, and
Can
before
we
we
just
do,
all go along?
Well,
we
first I
agree on
want
fair things. We all want to make America great again, right?
I just want to say quickly, if you're enjoying this content, maybe give me a follow. Hey, like this format that I have, this open panel format allows for these moments to happen. So if you're enjoying these moments, hit that follow button, make sure notifications are on, because I do this 6 days a week. And you know what else would help, right? If you maybe sub to the channel, I give you a lot. I do give you a lot for you, right? For the a lot of bang for your buck. Subs to the channel, gift bits, or gift subs will be very helpful. Thank you. All right, go ahead, Pisco.
Yeah, I want to thank
stream the best. None has been better.
I want to thank Vaush. I mean, it's not easy to be on a panel, have everyone attacking you from all angles. So appreciate you being here. It's a lot of fun. But I think that we want more as regards the evidence of Bush actively and maliciously influencing the election with the purpose to screw Gore out of a victory. Now, I think that there can be some debate. There's some papers or some research done to suggest that Gore was in fact the winner of that election, but that's not enough evidence to suggest that Bush or any people around the circle intentionally made it so, or intentionally changed the law to have that effect. By all accounts, this election was extremely close, up to, a couple hundred votes. No one could have predicted that, it would come down to those things. And this situation ended up having a new law being put in place to change those formats in Florida. It's one of the reasons why Florida results are so quick nowadays. What we're looking for is it's not enough to know that something is gone through legal process to know that it's quote unquote democratic, but you need some separate evidence, I think, of intent with respect to this particular passage of this law. And we don't have that here. And you would never accept that of a Trump person who alleged impropriety in the 2020 election only by pointing at a law and throwing up their hands and saying, what other purpose could it possibly have?
No, wait.
Think
So
about the
to be
2019
clear-
law. Yep.
So to be clear, if there was a law that was passed that specifically seemed to lead to an outcome that favored Democratic
talk about
voters, hold on. If such a law was passed and the way they achieved that favorability was by altering the ballot in such a way as to get voters to vote for candidates they didn't actually want, therefore skewing the total, and there was no possible explanation for why they would format things in that way except for the outcome of that explicit bias, and all of this was being facilitated by a relative of the favored presidential candidate, I promise you from the bottom of my heart, if a Democrat did that, I would have a problem with it. Okay.
Let me give you the example. So the example is
That's
in
where the problem
2019,
is.
Pennsylvania
I
passed a
remember you
law.
said that.
Passed a law. This is pre-COVID, extending the right for mail-in voting to everybody. And what the Republicans have said is they put this law in place to allow illegal voters to vote and to make it easier to rig the election. And that's the purpose they did it. It's not the only state they point to. But what I'm
Is there
taking
any
issue with
evidence
is
that it's led to that outcome? Is there
as
another
much evidence as
conceivable
you have.
explanation?
As much
Wait,
evidence
hold on.
as you
Wait.
have.
No, hold on. I do have evidence. Wait, hold on. I do have evidence because the percentage of people who then reported they misvoted after the 2000 election was statistically significant, far greater than it is in the average election. So I have evidence.
That's what
that
they say about this one.
Wait,
That's
hold on.
exactly
wait.
what they
That's-
say
wait,
about
hold
these
on.
ones.
That's please. That's what they say. But I,
undocumented is not anti-democratic.
hold on. So that's
it's
what
an
they.
increase of democracy.
That's what they say, but I guarantee you Republicans have supplied no evidence that it led to an increase in the amount of illegal voting. That's a fact.
I'm sorry, no.
So-
But what you said is voter voter issues related to ballots that did increase in 2000 in certain places, and the Republicans point to that, and that's their quote unquote statistical analysis that something's afoot. is looking at.
I would need to look at that then, because I mean I would need to review that evidence before I could really factor it in. So you're telling me then that the extension of the mail-in voting time led to a specific increase in the amount of voting errors with the Republican voters in that state?
The Republicans say that there are more errors.
I'm not asking what they say. They'll say whatever. I mean, like, is there evidence to that? If so,
there's
I would like to
evidence
see
that there are, by virtue of extending universal mail-in voting, there are more errors with respect to.
But is it errors
issues
that deliberately target a particular outcome? Because the way the butterfly ballots were oriented did lead
prove
to
what you said. Prove what you just said. Prove what you just said.
No, it's not. Confusing ballot doesn't help anybody. It's just confusing for everybody. It's going to fuck it up for everybody. So you can't say it helped with one person.
Yeah, and two quick fact checks. I linked the ballot in chat. These are not impossible to read ballots. Okay, you are right. Anybody can go look them up.
They were impossible to read.
They're not. They don't seem
jumping in with a wrong point. Mad. Okay. He had his time to quiet down. He's here.
Okay, I'm just going to keep talking when he starts ad homing. So number one, the ballots aren't impossible to read. Now, whether or not you want to say, people said that they had trouble, voting or not. Okay, sure, but like that's not that bar of like deliberately misleading somebody that you seem to be trying to set up on the other side. Number one. Number two, the person that designed this ballot was a Democrat. Teresa Lepore was not a Republican. She wasn't a Republican operative. She was a Democrat. So these are like the idea that these are like intentionally.
Who signed off on that actual implementation? And also,
why does the person that signed off on it? Why is the person that signed off on it more important than the person that actually created the ballot?
Wait, the person who signs off on it and actually implements it is infinitely more important. There are probably many ballot designs.
Except that there was the other case where a Republican had made the ballots and a Democrat had signed off. We'd probably be saying, well, the person that made it is way more
design important. Or the placement of the votes or of
she literally designed the ballot, the one that was used in this particular election.
Can I see that? Can you put that in the chat?
Didn't you know? I mean, you're alleging something particularly big.
No,
and
I didn't think. No, wait. Hold on. No. I don't know every single detail about something that took place 21 years ago. So, first of all, we weren't actually talking about intent at this point. We were talking about proving whether or not there was a marked difference with a specific bias as to who was affected by this. If you all can Google it, you can take a look at the butterfly ballot. If you look carefully, the very topmost position was the Republican ticket, George Bush and Dick Cheney. Right below that was the Democratic ticket, Al Gore and Joe Lieberman. However, in spite of the fact that the Al Gore and Joe Lieberman position, the text was second in the list downwards, they were the third notch to mark. So that discrepancy in a state with a disproportionately high number of elderly people led to a clear favorability bias. People who wanted to vote for George Bush had a clear lineup. The hole for George Bush was right next to the text for George Bush. Just right there, clean and simple. However, for the Al Gore Democratic ticket, it was the second text aligned with the third point. So this is a way in which a tiny edit to the format.
The text is still aligned. That's not true.
Yeah, the text there's an arrow pointing.
Yeah, the text is still aligned. It's just not true.
Wait, hold on. It's so funny to me to hear.
It's just mind reading.
Hold on. We're not talking about whether or not an average person could figure this out. We're talking about, did this alteration lead to a statistically significant number of Democrats misvote in this case?
We're talking that it was intentionally. We're talking about if it was intentionally set.
No, right now we were actually talking about whether or not there was a statistically significant impact.
Can you prove either? Can you prove either? How do you know that there's a statistically whatever you said about the Democrats being disproportionately affected? How do you know that?
Wait, how long ago was it?
Okay, allow me to read. This is from an article from The Guardian. Everyone buckle up. This is not exactly new information.
Can we just take this for granted instead of listening to Vaush?
So make a claim, but it's obviously not true. No.
It's just I don't. Okay.
Yeah, okay, no. So there's plenty of documentation that this design led to far fewer Democrat votes in some key counties that otherwise would have been in a very, very, very close election. So I can demonstrate that there was a clear bias in who was affected by this. First and foremost, what were we even on? I don't even remember what this was broadly in service of. It's just so many stupid points, line after line after line.
Your argument here has changed. Your initial claim was that this was an intentionally designed and implemented thing to target specific voters, that this was intentional. Yes, but
I believe that is the case. Now, you can't prove intent unless they admit it, but I believe that is the case.
No, you prove with circumstantial evidence. I mean, usually intent is proved with circumstantial evidence.
That is usually the best you can do unless you get a confession. You usually have to infer intent from the likelihood that people would have engaged in other types of behavior could they have.
If this ain't
in this case, this is a very
mind reading.
In this case, no, that's not mind reading. It's the opposite. It's actually the type of behavior that literally anybody. It's the type of behavior that literally anybody would engage in if it was their job to determine whether or not somebody meant to do something. If you're at all familiar with the criminal justice field,
Vaush is right about that.
Stuff. Yeah, so with regards to the butterfly ballot, I point you again.
Mind reading in the fucking
This is an
ballot.
unprecedentedly badly designed ballot. I mean, truly, like astonishingly badly designed. And it just so happened to be rolled out in a way that favored one candidate over another in a swing state, in a state that was run by the brother of the candidate. Now, nobody's come out with any signed confessions. I admit to that. I don't think I ever said that they had. I can't prove intent. What I can say is that I think there is substantial evidence. Now, I know that there is substantial evidence because this has been a hardline Democratic and even moderate-leaning talking point for a long time. So what we're arguing right now feels like I feel like it's past arguing gay marriage. I feel like I'm arguing gay adoption right now. If you'd all like, I can read up on this more, but I feel like if I can link some articles in chat, but there's evidence that the design was abhorrent. There's evidence that the design favored Republicans for the way it was formatted. We know that Jeb Bush was the governor of the state. Like,
Okay,
if we really want to harp this point unto infinity, if you really want to crucify me for not being able to prove intent like a literal mind reader, then I guess I'll accept that L.
There's a lot. 14 when that election went down, and everybody, it was said it was confusing for everybody, Republican, Democrat alike, and so there's nobody that really overly benefited from this.
That's not the main problem.
I was a teenager when that went down, so I actually remember that election.
Yeah, I was 15. I was 15 at the time.
You have to look at the George W. Bush.
Well, it's okay, but Vaush made the point, and I think this is crazy to me because I do think that this is a point that we all would agree with. Like he said, like that he has a problem with this, like that he feels like something untoward happened, and I don't think I've ever before today like heard really people question whether or not there seemed like something untoward happened in that. The whole thing is there's a big difference, but it's a far cry from fascism, and I think that's the point that I would say.
The whole point of this,
the whole fragmentally away from the original point to this point. I didn't expect we'd be arguing this. Allow me to, one last thing, if I may, read the foreword on a Stanford business article, okay? View publication. We show that the butterfly ballot used in Palm Beach County, Florida in the 2000 presidential election caused more than 2,000 Democratic voters to vote by mistake for reform candidate Pat Buchanan, a number larger than George W. Bush's certified margin of victory in Florida. We use multiple methods and several kinds of data to rule out alternative explanations for the vote Buchanan received in Palm Beach. This is from 2001, by the way. This was hot off the press.
Okay, so the problem, nobody is disagreeing.
So we're mind reading those.
No, it's not about mind reading. Hold on.
Really quickly, did I just hear Destiny say nobody's disagreeing, and then he's going to list the point that he was disagreeing with 5 minutes to go? Hit me with it, Destiny, please.
Okay, sure. Let me explain this one more time. I literally said word for word. Somebody go back and clip it. Everybody agrees that there was funny business. Nobody is saying that there wasn't funny business. But the problem is that you are alleging a conspiracy. This is the exact same types of arguments that you have with insane Trump fanatics who will say things like, this particular thing happened, and the reason why was because there was a massive conspiracy behind it. So whether it's Fauci miscommunicating how we're supposed to use masks, or whether it was the WHO not getting the correct information out initially about the coronavirus, the problem is that you're taking this argument of something funny or something dumb or something that shouldn't have happened, which everybody, I think most people agree with that everything relating to the Florida ballot thing was fucked, and it probably led to some dumb shit happening, which is why I don't know why you're saying, nobody disagrees.
Wait, am I a robot again?
Yes, you are. I'm just going to keep talking. I'm sorry. I'm just going to literally take a head talking because he's interrupting me. Okay, holy shit. The problem is that you are alleging a conspiracy, and for some reason, Vaush doesn't seem to understand the difference between saying something bad happened and something bad happened that was intentionally caused by a group of malicious actors. And this is exactly what Trump people do, is they try to play fast and loose with these two things so that they can prove everybody on the other side is a malicious actor. And it's just very strange, like Mott and Bailey. So you'll argue with somebody that says, like, for instance, like the WHO is an evil, horrible actor. And it's like, really? How do you know that? And it's like, well, they got this and this wrong. It's like, well, just because they got something wrong doesn't mean that they're being malicious on it. And it's the exact same here when we talk about the Florida recount, or whether we talk about any other number of things we're talking about. Just because there might have been something that was fucked up, or just because there might have been something that was wrong, there is a difference between saying something bad or wrong or dumb happened here versus going to the next level and saying there was a conspiracy here. That not a conspiracy, not a conspiracy,
I'd like,
and not a
first of all,
conspiracy
I'd like to
like,
address
oh my God, like a conspiracy theory, something's horrible, but a conspiracy like there was a plan by a group of people that got together in some way to circumvent the law or do something unlawful or evil or horrible. That is the original claim that you made, that you have now acknowledged multiple times. We all thank you for it. You cannot substantiate it because you need to go back and read more or do whatever.
I can't actually prove intent like a mind reader.
Now you want to say like prove intent by a mind reader. You don't have to prove intent. You don't have to prove intent.
I'd like to acknowledge.
Vaush like preach for like 20 minutes. Okay, so I have to
like to acknowledge that Destiny is backtracking here.
Nobody here is saying that you need to prove intent like a mind reader.
You gotta let him in. Vaush, buddy. Sorry,
Jesus
I let him in.
Okay, yeah, holy shit, because he railroads like a million points. Nobody is saying that intent has to be proved like a mind reader. Believe it or not, in the criminal justice system in the United States, we prove intent and shit all the time. And to my knowledge, I could be wrong, I don't believe we have any mind readers that work for the criminal justice system.
Intent.
So there are people that can infer intent, and they do it by more than just looking at a Twitter headline or more looking at something bad that happened and saying like, oh, well, there must have been some intentional mishap here.
Anti-lefty talking points.
There might have been some bad ballot design, which I think most people acknowledge, but unless you can literally give us a shred of evidence that there was some tomfoolery or some conspiracy that was arranged here, it's probably best to just take the L and move on to the next point.
Right. So first of all, I'd like to acknowledge the backtracking. So everyone here, well, not everyone, I'm sorry, but some people here, including Destiny, were saying multiple times that there was no evidence that there was any bias in how these butterfly ballots led to people misvoting. Destiny was saying, wait, hold on. Destiny, wait, hold on. Destiny was, I just did. I read a Stanford article quote on you. I can link you the article if you want to read it.
Yeah, but the burden is on you. You have to provide that.
Hold, please. Destiny even said, while chortling, he was saying, anyone could read this. It's aligned right there. So he was perfectly willing to imply that there was no actual negative outcome from the alignment of the butterfly ballot. Then I lay out the evidence that that's not the case. And now he backtracks off of that. Every time he makes a fallacious claim, he is willing to backtrack off of it to the previous one. Like he just tried to say, for example, that the courts prove intent, as if they're able to do that. No.
Sorry.
That doesn't mean it's a conspiracy.
It's okay. We'll all get there. So when you're talking about conspiracy, or when you're talking about whether or not politicians do things to, say, for example, favor their political allies, you usually have to use inference because very rarely do they openly admit to it. Here's another example where I'm willing to admit conspiracy or infer conspiracy where there's no direct evidence of such. The impeachment of Donald Trump, the first one, where the Republican senators voted to acquit overwhelmingly. And for some of them, like McConnell, they admitted beforehand that they were going to vote to acquit basically no matter what. The rest of them didn't do that. They just voted to acquit. Do I believe there was some kind of bias on the part of Republican senators to not consider the full facts of the case and instead to vote to acquit Donald Trump out of some sort of favorability bias towards their own party? I do believe that. I can't prove it, but I do believe it because it explains their behavior well, and because I think they had intent, and I think they had motive, and I think they had ability. Now, with regards to the butterfly ballot thing, I have demonstrated all of the characteristics that would be sufficient in a criminal trial: the opportunity, the intent, the motive. I think it's sufficient. I have explained why. Hold on. There have been many bad faith efforts to
delegitimize Alex Jones territory here.
Like, for example, claiming that the butterfly ballots wouldn't have had an effect, a very stupid claim made by people unfamiliar with the evidence, which I rebutted.
I was alive during the election. I was like, I remember.
Please.
It was confusing for everybody.
Let him finish.
So blew it on.
So we've run through all of that, and at this point, all Destiny really has to do is just run back to this. Well, explaining every element that would lead a person to engage in bias in favor of their brother is exactly the same as all of the flippant and provably false claims made by the Trump administration and their allies during the big lie, the election steal conspiracy. Again, this is anti-intellectual. It is not an actual consideration of the arguments or the case that I provided. He's tried to stop it at every point using arguments he's willing to back off later. There's no real discussion here, frankly.
It's actually real discussion. If you want to look this up
more in the future, then you're totally free to. But at this point, I've demonstrated all.
He hasn't even demonstrated one.
First of all, get off your high horse.
The butterfly ballots gay. Oh my God!
Shoot. I was saying, are you? If you're talking about the election interference thing, that thing is true. It's just we've gotten really caught in a Destiny. right now, to be honest with you. Like where people are like defending that. Like people have gone so trapped in it, so far down this destiny trap that they're willing to defend this thing that they all agree with, because they're really arguing that it's not fascist. But now because of that, they're just going so far down this other thing. It's just crazy.
Murder is totally intent. Like they do it all the time.
How do you determine intent?
Let's be charitable evidence. Okay,
let's be charitable.
Let's be intent, for example, by finding that a person did something that had a particular outcome to an outcome that they would have desired, and there wasn't any other explanation for their behavior.
Gosh, what I'm saying, you can't call out Destiny for saying prove intent, because people use prove intent all the time. Number two, with regards to your study,
we're using prove intent by way of inferring it through circumstantial evidence, then I prove
his use of the word prove intent is not indication that he thinks that you have to have a mind reader. That is just common vernacular that people say prove intent. So just be clear there. Number two, on your study that you said, all that you quoted to me was that there's evidence that a sufficient number of Democratic ballots were in play such that they could have overturned the results of the election. Is that correct?
Well, it's not just that.
There was a disproportionate bias towards Democrat voters voting by mistake.
Right.
What you read off, though, was that it was the Democrats, the absolute number of the ballots were off in such a quantity to affect.
So if you think about it math-wise, if there's a disparity caused by the butterfly ballots, and that disparity leads to Bush winning when Gore would have otherwise won, that is a disparity that was biased against the Democrats, because it means more Democrats would have misvoted than Republicans.
Understood, but you could have had a situation in which certain butterfly ballots in certain areas and the way that they were administered were different. You don't have absolute knowledge of that.
Well, no, Pisco, we do have evidence of that. The butterfly,
Destiny's still doing it. In chat right now, he's saying nobody could be fooled by this ballot when I've already provided evidence that people were fooled by the ballot.
Well,
he's not.
I'm just pushing back on this topic.
He's just bad.
Wait, hold on, Pisco.
Real quick, I'm just pushing back on this point because you keep saying like it's impossible to read. I'll acknowledge.
Chat. Hey, did I ever say it's impossible to read?
Wait, didn't he literally say that verbatim?
I said
I'm pretty sure you've said multiple
person
to
can
read
understand
for
it.
old people.
I'm pretty sure you said a lot of the time, like the next slide we say blah blah blah. All I'm saying is that if you look, it's not funny. It's funny because you're so fucking ass bad. I've already acknowledged that there is, I guess, a good possibility that it could have been that so many people were confused or whatever. But just
then why do you keep implying that you don't think that?
I'm not implying that. I know that you only literally can focus on rhetoric because your brain can only hold one idea at a time. But the reason why I'm pushing back is because you keep repeating this talking point that it's like impossible. It wasn't impossible.
I never said that. I'm making it up in your head.
People can go back. People can go back.
Are you debating Vaush?
Wait, okay. So then you agree that like most reasonable people could read it, right? Maybe some older people.
I literally said that. I literally said the average person.
That's all I wanted to hear. That's all I wanted to hear. That's all I wanted to hear.
I know you weren't listening. Are there any other points you want me to
clarify? Wait, hold on. I was in the middle of a point. He did say that.
I just want to make clear that
very bad faith, Destiny.
He did.
I just want to say that, to be clear, that he does talk about like how difficult it was for old people. Not that it was. At least I don't remember.
He did say that at the end. He did say that at the end.
With prime case, if I may, I just want to note it for the record. I think I literally said the average person could read this and understand, but the layout was confusing enough to lead a statistically significant number of people to alter their votes, a claim which is backed up by the evidence. But he's running around in chat, this is so hard to read, guys. It's obvious that he doesn't actually care about which points are proven or disproven, which are valid or invalid. He's just mad and he wants to hold me to anything that he can, even if it's something he's already backed off of.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Pisco. I was just addressing this point to you, like earlier. What I was trying to tell you is that these ballots were specifically distributed in Democratic counties, so it did significantly impact them more so. Like, there's evidence for that. Like, it's crazy because the ballot was actually created by a Democrat. Like, it was created by a Democrat, proved by Republicans, literally disseminated in Democratic places. Again,
that would go to pattern practice, not to the ballot itself. So one would be sort of
it's a combination. The ballot itself was a little bit in question, and it seemed like it was intentionally distributed specifically in these counties. This is crazy to me. I feel like we've gone so far down this rabbit hole that people are literally arguing against themselves.
Arguing. It's
there's
one.
No
I
one
to be
here.
An hour ago.
I get you.
Do we
I don't think anyone here.
Points we want to make.
I don't think anyone.
You think
here,
George Bush?
I don't think. I'm going to finish this statement really quickly. I don't think anyone here disagrees with the idea that Jeb Bush or I'm sorry, that George W. Bush winning that election, that there was something that was like untoward happening there. Like this, I really thought we all agreed there. Can we just all say that for the record?
We all agree. Yeah, it was dumb. There was dumb shit happening. For
probably won. Okay.
That if those ballots had been made a different way, it's entirely possible, if not likely, that we would have had a Democrat president.
Yeah. Okay,
yeah, for sure.
Okay, as long as we're all clear there. I just don't see where it's fascist, but that's a whole other thing.
Well, because the issue is that Vaush is contending
that
he's given enough evidence, circumstantial or otherwise, that it was a conspiracy. That's what we're disagreeing on.
So again, since nobody here in all the times I've asked it has managed to supply another explanation for why a highly deceptive, completely irregular, and hold on, an unprecedented ballot that just so happened to favor the candidate that was the brother of the governor at the time. And hold on, please. And was distributed specifically in Democratic counties. Like, unless we can find a better explanation for that, incompetence does not sufficiently describe that, okay?
Incompetence incompetence super describes it. Number one.
It does not. That is so for to me. So this could be my bias.
Number two.
I didn't get to finish my point again.
You did. You finished your point, and now you're mad because I'm trying to respond to your point. So
you probably couldn't tell because you weren't listening.
You can't just say because I can't find another explanation, therefore conspiracy. That is like every Trump's like go-to argument. Like I can't think of why this is reported incorrectly. Must be a conspiracy between the media. Must be a conspiracy between the Jews.
Not being able to find another explanation for a person's behavior is actually a really strong indicator of potential intent. So, for example, I'll give you an example to this, okay? If you wanted to arrest a person for attempted murder, okay, and they had a gun in their pocket and they were walking through an alleyway towards their ex-girlfriend's house after posting threatening text messages, the fact that there's no other reasonable explanation for them doing that, walking through that alley towards their ex-girlfriend's apartment with a gun in hand, is actually a really strong indicator towards their intent. So yes,
I agree, but you fucked yourself there, Vaush, because in your example, they sent threatening text messages. So I'm asking you, what is the equivalent to the threatening text messages? There is none here. You don't have the intent at all.
Okay, wait, hold on. Not a direct one-to-one example with every individual element, even if there weren't threatening text messages. If, for example, the ex-boyfriend was standing outside the ex-girlfriend's apartment just staring at her with a gun in hand, if there's no better explanation for him being out there with a gun in hand, that could lend much more credibility to the idea that he's doing something with potential nefarious intent. This is very, very self-evident stuff. We can take away the text messages. Let me, please. I'm only responding to one bad faith point at a time.
Oh my God.
So, hold on. So yes, actually, not being able to find an alternative explanation is often used in court to determine components of intent. This is, again, if you knew anything about this. So
you're so condescending, and you're not giving an equivalent like analogy. Like you're literally saying like standing outside with a gun, staring at his ex-girlfriend.
So actually,
like there's no equivalent to this to the hanging
analogy. So the goal of that analogy was actually to demonstrate that if a person engages in suspicious behavior, or if there's a suspicious outcome to that behavior, and there's not any other explanation to that behavior but malintent, that can be used in a component of determining, well, malintent. So hold on, wait, please, I can't. Wait, hold on. I literally, Prime Case, I need to defer to you because I literally can't make the point because I'm responding to one rebuttal after one rebuttal after one rebuttal. I need to finish this, okay?
Let it finish.
I believe I have sufficiently demonstrated, and again, anyone who knows anything about the court system would know this, that being able to find an alternate explanation for behavior plays in hugely to inferring intent. So since nobody here can provide an explanation that is to me more convincing than Jeb Bush wanted to help his brother win the election to explain the astonishing bias that was demonstrated in the unprecedented formatting of the butterfly ballots, which were discriminately distributed. Please stop. That, to me, is pretty suspicious. And to me, the most convincing explanation is malintent. Far more convincing than incompetence. And if, after all of that, if Destiny and his fans are so willing to try to own the left that they'll walk back.
Okay, cut him off and make him go to the next person. If he's just going to add him at the end. Don't waste time on this. If there's like 10 other people that want to talk, don't like sit here and do like 2 minutes of add-ons at the end. It's so fucking rude to everybody else on the panel. You're wasting everybody else's time.
Yeah.
Just go to the next person. Go to the next person.
Okay. So, who has... All right, so Vaush is asking... I was almost done. Vaush is asking for something very specific. Vaush, he wants an explanation.
Wait. Please, I have to go. I meant to go an hour and 12 minutes ago. The only point that I'm trying to finish on here is that I feel like Well, I feel like I feel like people who are arguing against the principles that I've argued here are either uninformed on the facts.
Hey, can we just go to the next? If it's just going to be an ad hoc, just go to the next people. Prime.
So,
this is like such a waste of time. If he's just going to say like,
I do want to speak to Vaush before he leaves.
What do you guys want to bet Destiny's going to leave after I leave because he's had his fun?
Anyway, dude, wait, Prime. Who's been on the show more, me or Vaush? Prime. Who's been here more, me or Vaush? No, Prime. I'm curious. Who's randomly jumped on the show more, me or Vaush?
I appreciate you
Mom,
having
Dad,
me on.
stop fighting. All right, okay.
I want to answer to that. I want to answer that. Who's randomly jumped on the show more?
Okay, Destiny, you love me more. Destiny, you love me more.
Can I speak to Vaush before he leaves, though?
Prime, I'm trying to say bye to Prime, though. Come on, he's hosting all this.
Okay.
Prime, love you very much. I had fun on the panel. Good luck with all this. Next time, I promise I'll stream. Okay. I loathe leaving because I feel like Vaush is running, but I've been here for 3 hours and I want to get early sleep tonight.
Bring me presents next time, and I'll love you just as much. Okay.
Do you have a PO box? I'll send you brownies. Okay.
I'll send you an address. Sure. All right.
Vaush is running for me.
I'm running from all of you. Good luck. Huh?
Vaush, can you accept when people invite you onto the panels? Because sometimes we try to make panels so that you could come to, but then sometimes you don't answer. So then if you could answer, then
I'm
we could
sorry.
Ooh, she's calling you out.
I'm bad at social media.
Okay.
I try my best.
Well, answer my messages as the producer that helps put things together. Then maybe you don't need to like have 15 other people yelling at you. You know?
Can you re-message me?
Stop leaving me on red.
You can do it right now.
Okay, re-message me and I'll respond so quick it'll make your head spin. Okay.
Okay.
I'm ready. Thank you.
Okay, good luck. Good luck.
All right.
So the point.
All right. So Jeshu Gambit, go ahead, and then I want Destiny. You can respond. Say anything you want. You can add hum if you want. You can do anything you want. But if you're here, hit that follow button. God fucking damn it! It's so much goddamn content. At least hit the follow button. All right, Jeshu.
How long ago did you?
Fine, Jeshu.
Yeah, so I just wanted to tell Vaush that this is what happens when you disagree with me. I'm usually the most based person on earth. So if you come to a panel disagreeing with me, you're gonna get dog pile. But the thing that I want to point out to him that was incoherent is that his belief that Florida did something when there was a Democrat who made this ballot, he would have to believe that she was conspiring with the Democrats to make his point coherent. Like, not only is it that something fishy happened, but it happened through the authority of a person part of a completely different party. So that's why his point is so incoherent, and that's why it's conspiratorial to say that these ballots were designed to help George Bush, being as how they were manifested. It's ridiculous. But I wanted to hear him respond to that, but I'm pretty sure I'll talk to him soon.
Okay, all right. Before we go to Destiny, I will let Viv in. She has been waiting like fucking forever. So Viv and then Destiny.
I was like unfairly muted in the first place. I hadn't even spoken for 20 minutes when you muted me because GSU is fucking.
Oh, we can move. We can go back to Destiny. You wanna? No,
okay, fine.
Okay.
All right, I got you. Okay. So, oh geez. So the thing that
She
really
didn't even have
kinda,
anything to say.
fucks me off about all of this, right, is that you know, when I come on here and I talk about like fascism and extremism and cults and all of that shit, like people will say to me, right, oh, you just call everybody fascist, right? And I would really love to be sitting here right next to Vaush as Destiny comes in and says, this is fucking inappropriate, this is what all the fucking lefties do, like fascism's lost all fucking meaning, or like that was the general gist of like what he was saying as he came in. I would love to be able to fucking sit here and go, oh, that's fucking bollocks, Destiny, actually, shut the fuck up. But I can't do that when I've got a dude next to me fucking sitting there going, well, actually, like, I think it's perfectly reasonable to just jump in and call like Bush a fascist, right? Nobody's gonna fucking buy that. You haven't got like a really particular, you haven't got a solid case for going, this person is a fascist, has fascist beliefs, right? I think there definitely is a nuanced and interesting conversation to be had around like, did Bush's reign lay the ground for like later GOP fascism or the rise of like fascistic sentiment among the American populace, the hyper-nationalist rhetoric, the jingoism after 9/11, the Patriot Act, all of this sort of stuff? I think there's a really interesting conversation to be had there, and I think that's what Vaush means when he says, I think that it's appropriate to call like Bush a fascist. But I don't think that that's appropriate to call Bush a fascist, because unless he intends to create it, right, unless he has fascistic beliefs, I don't think we can call that specific person a fascist. All we can really say is that, you know, through incompetence or like being unaware of what these kinds of actions will produce, or perhaps even uncaring that it might produce them, that he laid the groundwork for like later GOP fascism. That would have been a much more interesting conversation rather than getting stuck in the weeds for like a whole fucking hour, possibly longer, over
would have been better to say that his administration below Bush was pushing actions that were fascist.
Yeah, I don't think any one person can like create fascism in a nation, right? It's a combination of all of these things. Having Stephen Miller in government like passing policies. When Destiny mentioned like what is a fascistic policy, the first thing that like came to my mind was like there was like a broad analysis of the policies that Stephen Miller was involved in making, right, which showed that over the course of his career, his intent was to preserve the white demographic, basically, right? He wanted to make it so that like less I was going to say colored then, but like less people of color in the country, right? I think that's the sort of thing that you can kind of point to, but it's just such a long, nuanced discussion. You can't fucking have it when somebody just comes in and goes, actually, I think Bush was a fascist. Like, it's dropping that fucking bomb on everybody that nobody's going to fucking agree with, and not even I would agree with, and it's really frustrating to me.
Destiny.
Okay, so there's I guess two big points that came off of this. So the first one is calling everything fascist is just stupid. Most people don't even know what fucking fascist means. It's become the new left thing to call right-leaning people that right-leaning people used to call left-leaning people, so they'd call them all socialists, right? 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, every conservative called every Democrat they didn't like a socialist, and it was just fucking stupid. It was so annoying. And now you've got this thing on the left where every time you get like somebody that's like, oh, I like police officers. Oh, well, you must be a fucking fascist. Or like, oh, Scalia, that guy, he was a conservative judge. He's a fucking fascist. Or George W. Bush, that guy, the word loses all meaning. And it just, instead of actually arguing over particular policies, we're just really quick to throw a label on a policy and then we're done with it. Like, oh, well, let's talk about like multilateral trade agreements or a protectionist economy. Well, one is fascist, so I sure as fuck aren't supporting that. Like, okay, well, that doesn't really help us at all, does it? Right? Or labeling people fascist and writing them all off completely. Like, oh, Manchin wants to, do this with the infrastructure bill or this with minimum wage. Well, Manchin is a fucking fascist, so I don't want to deal with it. It toxifies the conversation by poisoning the well so much, and it makes it impossible to have like a meaningful conversation about any actual topics. Instead, like we've seen happen on this panel, and not to shit on this panel because, by the way, this happens on 95% of politics panels. Instead of ever actually having a single conversation about any actual policy, you just start talking about the labels and like a meta conversation about the whole time. Well, is this racist? Is this fascist? Instead of the actual effects that anything will have on it. It's just really fucking annoying. I just wish people would just drop the terminology completely and just talk about the effects of the particular policy. It's a way better conversation to have. Number one. Number two, just on the side thing related to Florida, this is something that you should know if you argued with Trumples over and over and over again. Just because somebody does something that leads to a bad outcome doesn't necessarily mean that there was a fucking conspiracy there. Just because the WHO messes something up or just because something's reported incorrectly doesn't mean that there's a big conspiracy about the coronavirus. Doesn't mean there's a big conspiracy in the media. Doesn't, right? Sometimes people just fuck things up. If you want to allege a conspiracy, then the standard of evidence that you need to meet to meet that conspiracy has to be more than just, well, I can't think of any other possible explanation rather than somebody fucking up. Therefore, it must be a conspiracy. You have to have at least like one or two pieces of evidence linking that to happen. Otherwise, literally everything becomes a fucking conspiracy. And that's like the world we live in right now with the fucking deep state.
Wait, Destiny, you do agree that the war on drugs was racist, though, right?
Oh my God! No, not today, bitch. Not today.
Neo,
I'd say that was a lot of Nebraska talking.
Neo.
Wait, is CTV in here?
Neo.
War on drugs.
The war on drugs.
Yeah. I wanted to bring up. Okay, since like an hour ago. Sorry. So like, you asked me, Destiny, what fascism. You made the claim earlier before you started yelling at Vaush back and forth that you think everybody calls everything fascism, and they attempted to bring like a very beginning outline of like that fascism requires that I said I disagree with Vaush, that I used to say as a teenager that Bush was a fascist, but now I'm like, no, he's not a fascist because he wasn't the charismatic leader with the followers, like, what is a Trump rally? It's a fucking hate rally where, like, it gets these people riled up, and it's nothing like other political rallies, okay? So, like, what
They
would
look
you
like
say is
Bernie
fascism?
rallies.
Because you earlier were basically saying that nothing is fascism. So why?
No.
Yeah, what is fascism? If you think nothing is fascism, then what is fascism?
He didn't say that. And Neil
See?
Gaia, listen, I'm sorry. Listen, it's not just as simple as having a charismatic leader. You realize you can have a dictator that is not charismatic at all, that is just incredibly powerful, who's not specifically who's like super authoritarian dictator, and then it's still fascism. Like, stop. That's not
so,
what
like,
it is.
real quick, so
don't
my
even
understanding
require
of, broadly speaking, of what fascism is you take somebody who is a populist, and then you add a dash of like, I am the only person that can help you. I am going to have the only political party that can help you. And usually we all have to be the same race. And we are going to put our country against the entire fucking world, right? And we're going to do it. And we need all the power to do it. We have to have the ability to do it on our own, because other people will try to fuck with us and destroy us from within, right? So a fascist is a populist that is generally authoritarian. They usually want some form of unilateral control over the government. They want the ability to supersede, like, the Supreme Court or Congress. And it's going to be somebody that is usually ultra nationalist. So it is a make America great again, America first. We're going to cut off immigrants. We're going to blah, blah, blah. Now, it's kind of hard to get the ethnic part down in America because we're like a pretty big hodgepodge of things. But, like, generally speaking, that's what a fascist is. But it's like, it's just not worth, like, calling everybody that supports somebody a fascist, because you don't get anywhere by doing that. The definition, like, just doesn't work most of the time.
It's
But
not.
we have
you
jargon for a
also don't
reason.
You also don't need a cult of personality for fascism. A
Right.
cult of personality is a common theme among fascistic regimes of the past and current, right? And I can't think of a huge amount of like examples in which a cult of personality hasn't formed within fascism, but I wouldn't say that it's like required for fascism.
I think a cult of personality is pretty important for fascists, because I think most fascists tend to be populists, and they tend to be ultra loved by the people, like on a personal level. Like, you would ride or die for, like, your fascist leader. I think the
But
cult of
more
personality is pretty
important, I think, is the palingenic narrative, right? The rebirth of the nation to some fictional, like, past, right? Which is usually manifested in some sort of messianic, almost prophecy, right? That centers around a particular figure who's supposed to bring about this rebirth of the nation.
So
that's why it's a common
so we're gonna go to Katarana and Wick, but just to be clear, and will you agree on this, Destiny, without agreeing that Bush is a fascist, right? That he did have that cult of personality back then, right? Like,
Bush was not a fascist.
No,
I'm
no,
sorry.
no. Again, I'm not saying
In terms
I'm
of,
not
like,
saying we
having
agree
a
there.
when I say cult of personality, what I mean is when you get a singular figure that pushes that populism to the fucking brink, that is going to be the type of cult of personality. So when you get one guy that basically stands up and says, "Listen to me," every single fucking institution is against you.
Yeah,
Every
he lost
single
the
country is
popular
against you.
cult.
Right? Not even necessarily like that. Trump, in my opinion, is a really good example of, like, fascist rhetoric, or maybe would be considered a fascist, right? Because when you look at how Trump acts, Trump isn't saying, like, me and my Republicans, we're going to do this. Trump isn't saying, like, oh, like, me and this is how it's going to work. Trump had no friends and no allies. It was whoever served his end. He threw the Republicans under the bus. He threw his own fucking vice president under the bus. He threw his own intelligence agency under the bus. He threw his own DOJ under the bus. He threw his own courts under the bus, because Trump was like a fascist. This is not a guy that wanted to, like, go with the Republicans and bring the country. It was a singular figure, and that is unique to Trump that Bush did not even come close to qualify for.
That's the palingenic messiah.
It wasn't my point. My point was only that George W. Bush had that following, that level of following at the time. Right, we had people praying to him, saying that he was going to deliver us from the nation. Right, like you saw, like, for instance, in Jesus Camp, like, they did that whole thing. Right, like, Bush would say
everybody does this to every president. Every president.
No, that I disagree with. But okay,
if you think that there is a cult of personality around Bush, dude, Obama, holy shit, come on.
I was about to say,
hold on, I don't think they were okay. I think this is an arguable point, but all right, fine. Let's go to Katarana and Wick.
Yeah, I don't understand this whole idea of, like, we just need to stop using the word fascist because it's being overused. Because at the end of the day, even if people are going ahead and using it inappropriately, fascism does actually mean something specific. And even if a lot of people don't understand the definition of the word, it doesn't render the word useless. People use the word quantum all the time, and they use it fucking incorrectly and it drives me crazy, but it doesn't mean that the word quantum doesn't mean anything anymore. So I just don't understand this idea that like we need to stop going ahead and using it, because it's kind of like, what do you want us to do? List the whole definition whenever we're going ahead and trying to call out somebody for bad behavior?
Yeah, cried wolf. It's the point of cried wolf. If you cry wolf too many times, people are going to come when there's a real wolf.
And the problem is that the words actually do become meaningless, right? So there's like two broad ways we look at language. We can look at it descriptively, like, oh, well, this is what words mean and has to mean, or we can look at like prescriptively is like this is words should mean and this is what they have to mean, or descriptively, well, how are words like generally used and what happens, right? And if you use a word over and over and over again, it will lose its meaning. For instance, the word literally half the time doesn't mean literally, because literally every single time somebody uses it, it's not actually being used in the correct way, right? I just did it right there. So we've actually changed the definition of literally. Or for instance, the phrase begging the question. Begging the question has nothing to do with raising the question, but everybody says begging the question when they mean raise the question. So now when you say begging the question, it means raising the question. And it's the same thing with fascist, right? Like when you stretch a term so that it means anything, you correctly identified earlier, somebody here said something like, we have labels and stuff for a reason. We do. We have a label so that when we use it, it helps us better understand something. But fascist is the opposite of that right now. If somebody tells me, oh, that person is a fascist, I have no fucking idea what the fuck they mean when they say that. They could literally be a Trump-like figure, or it could be like a conservative mom that like likes cops and she has like a Blue Lives Matter flag. I don't know what the fuck fascist means. So as soon as you say that person's a fascist, I immediately have to ask you 50 more questions, because the word literally means nothing at this point.
But then at that point, then you need to pay attention to the people that actually use the words properly. If you go ahead and have someone that calls everything a fascist, you just don't listen to that person anymore. But then you don't question the person that actually knows what it is.
Yeah, but if everyone's doing it, how the hell are you supposed to know? Like,
Wait! Don't address that point, because I don't think that's the point that anyone made here. I don't. Destiny, correct me if I'm wrong. Were you saying that we should never use the phrase fascist, or you were saying that it needs to not be used unless you have sufficient evidence in order to meet it?
You can use it in like an academic setting, but right now, contemporaneously, I don't think there's any reason to use the word fascist. I mean, like you can even say this time with the word socialist. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but I had a debate with a socialist professor a while ago called Professor Wolf, and when that guy defined socialism, that guy literally had 3 definitions, all the way from fucking liberal social democracy all the way to like what would arguably be considered like socialism or communism. So his definitions were broad enough such that if somebody were, and that's an academic, that's a smart guy, if he says like, oh, I'm a socialist, I really have no fucking idea what you mean by that. When you say socialist, do you like aspire to the like destruction of the state and like literal communes where like we're socially, directing goods and services, or do you just want somebody with a lot of like government intervention and a like mixed market economy, right? These are two fundamentally different things. So when you have like one label that describes things that are literally fundamentally and exclude every single other character, they're pointless words to use. Like we just need new words.
Then that just
let her finish. Let her finish.
That just essentially means that you're like terminally online, where people are just using definitions willy-nilly, and like that's not appropriate, and I totally agree, but it doesn't mean that these words don't have meaning anymore. So like same thing as you just said, like people online will go ahead and put in their Twitter bio socialist, but then when you talk to them, they won't know what the fuck they're talking about, and like that's fine. Then just don't like listen to Twitter bio people.
Hey, the point is,
this is so easy to attack.
The point is,
this is so easy to attack. Like Catarana, what's happening is the social landscape gets polluted by people misusing terms. So what happens is you don't understand when you're in a conversation with somebody that's actually genuine or when you're not. So like Destiny is saying, you have to ask millions of clarifying questions to figure out what the fuck somebody actually means. That's why we combat people using like lazy rhetoric. It's because we want words to actually have a meaning. When somebody's in a conversation with me, when somebody's in a conversation and they say, hey, this person is a fascist, I don't want to have to figure out that what they're actually saying is that tangential connections to somebody means that
I don't think anybody's arguing that people want things to have meaning anymore, but what we're saying is that the words still are supposed to have meaning. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't use the word anymore. It means that people know what they're talking about and stop talking about it.
So GSU totally agree with you. I mean, like it's like those assholes using ACAB. I mean, honestly, like who the fuck are they?
No, but it's like the same thing. Like as Destiny said, like when people, or as like people say, sometimes people say the word racism doesn't mean anything anymore. It's like, yes, it does, and it's still a useful word. We still need that word. So just because people are using it fucked up doesn't mean that word's not a word.
I disagree even with the word racist. The word racist doesn't mean anything more to me. When somebody says somebody is racist, I have to ask them like 50 like clarifying.
What's that noise?
Neo, you gotta.
That's Neo.
When somebody says something is racist, you have to ask like 50 clarifying questions to me what they actually mean.
Neo,
right?
can you mute or
I'm gonna mute.
One thing that's really instructive of this, in my opinion, is when you see a lot of people will fight over things publicly, like when people come out and make the statement, you can't be racist towards white people. Every time you say that, 50 million people, not just terminally online people, but people in real life will argue over what the fuck that means, because people are running around using systemic racism definitions or structural racism definitions or class-wide racism definitions or just like plain old racist definitions. So yeah, even the word racist has no meaning to me anymore. I have to ask you for like 50 different descriptors after you say that because it's like a worthless word at this point.